Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Hello.
I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody doing winding down their work day, huh?
I'm actually in the ER with my son because the doctor's office wasn't open today.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope everything is okay for you. Does everybody have their material in front of them for this session? Yeah, what I was hoping for was that we would be able to share it on the screen. So I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that, but just in case you have it and you can follow along with us. So we'll get started because I don't want to, hold everyone up. And I know it's going to be a few hour session tonight. We make sure we get through everything. So I'll introduce who I am. My name is Vic Collins, and I'll be facilitating your session today on helping you sell your listing out of the Brookhaven Market Center, Keller Williams Peachtree Road. And a little bit about me. I've been in real estate for wrapping up my 4th year this year, and we're doing pretty good. Just started a small team here in the market center, so business is growing, and just wanted to tell you a little bit about me and who I am, and how we'll be facilitating your class today. So, do we have? Okay, I see someone here says, can someone post a PDF to this section? I want to, if Kristen is available, can you share the document so that everyone can see it?
I have it. Did someone just say they would share? Because I don't have the document.
I put the link to the document in the chat. I think it may work. You may have to sign into KW.
I just threw it on there.
And when it's loaded, then we'll move forward. So is everybody here from the City Side Market Center? Yeah? No? Okay.
No. No.
Okay, so we have a mixture of everybody here, okay? All right, perfect. I see that some people said that both work. So if you don't have a copy, just check in the chat there and you'll see the links that you can load the PDFs. So this Ignite session is really about selling your listings. Let me ask, has everyone in here had a listing yet? No, not yet. So you probably hear a lot about, hey, you want to go out and get listings. So that's wonderful. But if you can't get them sold, it's kind of like pointless. So we're going to talk today about what that looks like. So everyone knows that when you have a listing, there's kind of some key things you want to, take into consideration for getting it sold. And one of them is, making sure that you can convince the seller to have it staged, right? And then how do we market the property? That's really important because we have times where you are scrolling the MLS, right? And you see like these small little tiny pictures of people taking pictures of their iPhones and things like that, just not very attractive, right? So there's kind of some marketing things we want to make sure that you're aware of, as well as how do you communicate like a mega agent. We also want you to be recognized as an agent who does get listings sold. And what that does is it turns into you earning customers for life, and it helps you get referrals. So we're going to talk about all of that in this chapter. So some key takeaways will be basically, we want to think of you guys as cappers in training, and we want you to be recognized as premier listing agents, which is very important for expanding your business and growing your business, because we know that working with buyers, it takes a lot of time. So we definitely want you to be able to be in a space where you can work with buyers and sellers, but more specifically, grow your business through listings. All right, we're gonna jump right in here with your action reveal. So tell me a little bit more about the videos you guys had an opportunity to watch. We're gonna make this engaging. I'm sorry. What page are we on here? There we go, the action reveal. Okay, so you guys had a couple assignments. Obviously, you have assignments every week, but let's open the floor to talk about your mission this week, the videos, and talk about your activity. So who wants to share with us, what you learned, and how your activity this past week, how you plan to turn your activity into business? Anyone? All right, I'm gonna start calling on people. Let's see. Let me see, can I get the max view here so I can see everybody? Come on, guys. What? Talk to me about the video. What did you observe? Did you watch the video? Do we need to take a few minutes to watch them?
Yeah, because I'm not sure which video you're speaking in reference to, honestly.
Yeah, I'd likewise, to be completely honest.
I'm
Same
like,
here.
was I watch a video, or is it the videos that we watched in class?
So
Yeah,
there was a video, there was a couple videos here that was supposed to be like pre-work for the session.
Oh, no, missed that.
You missed it?
Yeah.
So maybe what
It
we
wasn't
can
here.
do is,
On the CMA information, that's what we went over last class, and I don't. Yeah.
How were we supposed to receive those videos?
that's a great question. Did your last instructor didn't give you that information?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. What we'll do, so maybe what we'll do, I think we have them. So I tell you what, we'll come back to that. Let's go into your 10-4, and then we'll see if we can get those pulled up for you after we go through your 10-4 activity. So let's talk about your activity. What type of activity did you guys do this week? What type of lead gen did you do? What type of successes did you have? What did that look like for you?
For me, I added 25 new contacts. I made 3 new connections, and I previewed 7 homes.
Okay, and do me a favor, introduce who you are, because I can't see everybody on my screen at the same time.
Okay, I'm Janet Benford.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, and so tell us a little bit more about that. So where did you find your contacts? Were these people in your sphere, your phone, or?
They are in my sphere. After meeting with my coach, I had discovered that I have more in my sphere than I had paid attention to. I had only focused on my cell phone and some of the regular social places that I frequent, but I hadn't taken into my job, my sorority. So I started to immediately add those contacts in my contact log, and I've got a lot of leads, and from that gotten 5 people under buyer agreements.
That's great. I think one of the things that I know you hear a lot about when we're getting started is that, people say, this cold call is cold call is cold call, and that scares the heck out of a lot of people. One of the things I found easy when I was doing my 10-4 was, you don't realize how many people you do know, right? And then you look through your phone, it's like, wow, I got 1,000 people on my phone. That's the easiest way to start, reaching out to people, putting them on campaigns, sending them text messaging, and especially for this time of the year where it's so easy to get a mailing address, and then you can go on Facebook and get a birthday. It makes it very easy to touch people. So what I would encourage you to do is do exactly what you're doing, is to go through your phones and, see who touch these people, maybe send out a holiday card or something like that. And that takes care of your activity. It probably will take care of your activity for a few weeks. And you'd be surprised at the amount of people that will come back and say, hey, you know what, I'm looking to, make a move on a purchase, or I'm looking to sell, or I know somebody. So, don't get hung up on like, who am I going to call? Because you probably already know these people. Just focus on doing the activity. That's wonderful. I'm happy to hear that for you, Janet. Anyone else want to talk about their activity? Any challenges with your activities?
Hey Vic, it's Audra, Eugene's wife.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how's it going?
You guys are being very successful this year.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. So one of the things we both did today was to get out. We realized that there's not a lot of real estate presence in our own neighborhood, not that we see.
Mhm.
So we decided to target 5 neighborhoods in our area that we will place door hangers on. So we did that today. And the next step would be to order the door hangers and get out there and make it happen.
Okay. So talk to us about like, how do you see, what type of return do you expect to see from that activity?
Well, we're thinking so the hope is to target at least 50 to 100 homes in the area. And it may be postcards because I don't see us or a mixture of both, but to target 50 to 100 homes in our general area. And we're thinking we should see 2 to 3, have 2 to 3 responses maybe.
Okay. I mean, that's typically what you'll get now. I mean, if you're getting responses now, that's great, because that means that when people, now kind of what's happening now is people are getting ready for the holidays, and they're getting, they're getting ready to spend money. And so for some people, purchasing is in the forefront. Some people it's not, but it will be if you're getting some responses. So, I want to applaud you guys for kind of know what your activity has been this year. So for everyone else on this call, feel free to, just only because I know them from my office and know the activity they've been doing, maybe definitely pick their brains on the type of lead gen that they've been doing that has made them very successful this year. So one of the key things with the activity is the persistence. And like I see here, it's very simple, right? You send your thank you cards every week. How many people are actually doing that, putting thank you cards in the mail? Or how many people think that that's kind of corny or kind of cheesy?
I don't think it's corny or cheesy. It's just a matter of finding the right card, or, thinking about the right thing to write in the card. I mean, I've seen the notes in here on what to write, but I'm just now getting to buy the cards and sending them out. And it can be a real daunting task to have to drive to the post office. So I'm trying to see, how can I automate this and do this online and send it out? But I mean, they also say that it's better to write the note than to just, have something printed and sent.
Yeah, I think that a handwritten note is received a little bit better by people. One of the things that I think can be helpful is, you can order stamps on stamps.com and you have it come to your house. That prevents you from going to the post office. And one of the easiest things you can do is, like, this is something you don't have to think too hard about, but, Amazon has really nice bulk cards that you can order, and just find a real nice one, inexpensive, and send them out each week. It is a little bit time consuming to do it. If you're in a place where you can, maybe pay somebody to help you do that, it may be worth it. But what I found with the thank you cards, I think is very important is, people will end up keeping the cards and or keeping a business card. And then down the road, I've personally experienced, hey, I got your thank you card like 4 months ago, and I just kept your information, but I'm ready to purchase now. So I think that I think what's important for the thank you cards is, when you drop things in the mail to people, it's a little bit of a delight to receive, aside from a bill that most people receive in the mail. So thank you cards really stand out. But if you're persistent enough in doing them, they say 10 a week, so 40 a month, that is bound to turn into business for you. So how many of you have done that this week so far? Have you sent any thank you cards out? No? You have to stay on your thank you cards, even if it's just for the conversation, even if it's just for thank you for adding me on social media, or, thank you for, the information you sent me a few weeks ago. I think that's very important for building the relationships that's going to help you create a referral-based business. And for me, I find it very, very time consuming to do, but very, very necessary in terms of growing your business and counting it. You can count it as a touch, and it does make your conversation, your cold call conversations, warm conversations, right? So when you think about them truly being cold, when you send someone a thank you card and they received it, you're like, oh, hey, did you receive my card? Then it opens up the conversations for it to be organic, which is what we want, and for them to be warm. So be sure that you guys are staying up on sending your thank you cards. Let's hear from like one other person. Like, what has your activity been this week in terms of lead gen?
I just had a question.
Yes.
How would you go about asking someone that, you may not know where they live and stuff like that for their address,
You know what I do? I say, listen, I am sending out holiday cards, for everyone I know. Do you mind sharing your address so that I can drop your card in the mail? Right. The only thing is, be sure to drop the card in the mail. Right. That's the only thing. And then what that does, right, is it doesn't solicit business from people from the beginning, but it does open the door for you to ask for business at some other point that's more appropriate, right? Everyone, especially this year, as it's kind of been on edge. It's been a tough year for a lot of people. So there's nothing better you can do than to drop someone in something in the mail that lets them know that you're thinking about them. You can go to Target. You can get really expensive cards at Target. If you don't want to order them online, you can get some bulk variety. Drop a little handwritten note, happy holidays, and put a stamp on it, put it in the mail, right? That then becomes a part of a touch system that you will create, which is known as 8x8 if you don't know people, right? Or 36 touches if you do know them. You all know that an MREA specifically says that you need to touch people 36 times a year in order to turn that into some type of business for you, right? So you then can systematize and automate some of these things after you have getting it going. But you have to have a mailing address, right? You have to have that. And this is the easiest time of the year to get it. Let me send you something in the mail. Let me drop your holiday card in the mail. Can I have your mailing address, right? You can do that right now on your phone. If you guys took 5 minutes and sent that to 5 people, you would get 5 responses right now. You can send 5 cards right now. Okay?
Got it.
Okay, I want to share.
This is Donnie Fox. One thing I've done this week is in the most recent issue of the Atlanta Business Chronicle, there's an article about real estate projections for the Atlanta metro area for 2021. And I have sent that. I'm very new at this. but I had sent that article out to a number of people this week and gotten replies and responses thanking me for, keeping them informed. It's just another way to touch. It's not a note card, but it's just a way to keep my name in front of them.
Absolutely. I think that's really, really, really important when you do things like that, and definitely thought partnering, thought sharing here. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's going to help several people here. I heard someone else pop in.
Yeah, me too. I wanted to share. I've been sharing the Keller Williams app. The app is helping me a lot because I know some people that are friends that they wanted to buy, and I said, well, I can help you. Let me share the app, and it's looking good. It shows my name and everything in the profile. It looks very professional. And when they register the user, they will get an email and they can access my website. So it's all done. So it's looking good. And I think we should all use that app to attract clients. And also I have done some previews. So I've been in different houses visiting and doing some showings by myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. How do you feel about previews? Because when I did them in the beginning, I'm like, man.
Well, it was good. It was good. The agents are asking me for feedback. So, okay, I'm giving feedback and so it's been good. I've been previewing the houses and testing that my Supra key is working. So everything is good. Now I need to start selling.
Listen, for all those things you said is the reason why you need to do previews. You'll get to a house and Supra has updated their key and you didn't update it on the phone, or you might have broken your phone and gotten a new phone, and you realize when you do that, you have to get an updated key, right? So these are all little things that are important so that when you're out showing a client, you're not like trying to get into the box, trying to get to the house and you can't, because that has all happened to me before. But also the feedback is important because now that we're talking about how do you sell your listing, what most people are going to want, what most sellers are going to want is feedback for why not their house isn't getting sold. And if you're a great listing agent, you need to be able to get this feedback from people to kind of tell your seller, hey, we're priced where we need to be, or we're getting feedback on maybe we need to paint this room, or maybe we need to update this room, or somehow we need to make an adjustment so that we can get the house sold. So I do provide feedback when I'm working on the buyer's end for sellers. I hope that you all are doing that as well, because it's important that when you're a listing agent, to be able to get that feedback for your sellers. It's very, very, very important to do that. So, all right, let's move forward and talk more about let's see if we can go back up to the page are we on? I can't see. There we go. We'll come back. We can scroll back down a little bit further. We'll talk about the action. We'll talk about the videos later. All right, let's talk about turning your lead generation into business. So we are going to say a powerful affirmation out loud. And the affirmation is, my business is growing abundantly. Right? Now, before we do this, I need you to really, really believe it, because you're probably like saying this is probably corny, but I need you to really believe it. And the reason I need you to really believe it is because I remember when I started out and I was taking the night, much like many of you, and I'm like, man, I just need to close a couple of deals. Like this is great, and I hear it, but in hindsight, it's what you believe that's going to help you manifest where you want to go in the space. And I can say that to you this year, and my third year, even to my second year, for how my business has grown and where I've been able to take things. So before we do it, let me ask you guys: do you really believe your business can grow abundantly? All right. So now we're going to say it out loud. Okay. On the count of 3. 1, 2. Wait, I need everybody off mute. I want to hear everybody. There we go. There we go. Let's go.
I believe.
All right, let's go. 2, 3. My business
Business
is
is
growing
growing
abundantly.
abundantly.
I just said it again. My business.
My business
Going
abundantly.
Growing
abundantly.
abundantly.
All right, perfect. Now, with that belief, right, you guys were supposed to have compiled a list of people you needed to call or contact this week. Have you guys prepared that? Okay. Now, before we start, tell me a little bit about you. I want to hear from 2 or 3 people. Who are you calling and why?
Well, I'll go. I used to teach dance, and so I have a great group of mothers and parents, basically, that I've been reaching out to incrementally throughout the week. So that's been going good. And then once I started receiving responses, letting them know what I'm currently doing, then I'm calling them. And so those have been really good conversations where they're like, oh, my sister's looking for something. Let me get her your information. So that has led from one thing to another. So it's been good since I haven't been able to teach because of the pandemic, and a great way for me to reconnect back with my little baby girls.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Congratulations on that. To your point, we don't have to think too hard about this. What do we enjoy doing? What spaces are we currently in? Let's tap into that. Okay, let's hear from someone else really quick.
I honestly just called some people to connect with them and check on them to see how they're doing. When I stopped focusing on the numbers so much and, oh, I got to get a close, and oh, I got to get a client, it started to come to me naturally. And people will remember, oh, she did call out of her busy day. One of my friends said, Jenny, you're the busiest person I know, and you called to check to see how I was doing. I didn't even think you remembered that I just moved back from Chicago. And I was like, no, I remember that. And I wanted to see how you were settling in and if I can help. So got some good feedback, and that's my purpose, to call and check in and help, see where I can help.
Awesome.
So I wanted to share something. I started reconnecting with some of my old coworkers, and I was on the phone with one of my old coworkers. And then a couple days later, I posted something on Facebook. And then another coworker that we used to work with called me, and she said, hey, I saw on Facebook that you are a realtor now, and I'm looking to buy a house in January. So she was meeting with somebody, or she was going to meet with somebody. And then she said, well, I called them and I said, never mind, I'm going to work with somebody else because, I know her personally and I would love to help her. I would love her to help me. So I was like, that's really cool. Just connecting with somebody led me to somebody else that we both mutually know. And so now we're meeting, well, she's getting pre-qualified right now. So I met with my mentor, and we're supposed to be meeting with her in the next couple weeks.
That's amazing. That type of magic is what I've discovered in this space. You don't have to worry about the how. You just do what you can do, and then everything else will fall into place. And that truly is how it works. So I'm happy for you. And yes, I do believe in the law of attraction. I do believe in the power of manifest. I do believe the power of words, because I've seen that personally work for me.
I believe in that highly.
Yeah, it works. So you manifest everything in this space. And so you have to be very mindful of the things you do want to manifest, and don't be afraid to think big. Don't be afraid of how you look. Don't be afraid of any of that. Just kind of be in a space organically to say, I really enjoy being here. And if there's anything I can do to help you, I will, and then things happen for you. So I'm happy for all of you, for sure. So let's do this. Let's take 20 minutes to make phone calls to people that the list that you brought, and then we will talk about that at 6:20. We'll talk about that, and I want to hear some success stories. I want to hear who you've called, and I want to see how you've turned that into a relationship that you could nurture for business now or for in the future. Okay. All right, so let's do that now. And I will let you guys know when it's time to get back on. Oh, you're using your phone for Zoom. Okay, if you're using your phone for Zoom, then what you can do is send text messages to people. I'm only gonna allow that for people who are using their phone for Zoom. Okay, so I don't want you guys to come back to me and say, hey, I sent out 100 texts. I do want to hear some people make phone calls, and I am able to see you on the screen. So I want to see you picking up the phone and making some phone calls. Okay. All right, so let's start now. And I'm getting a lot of questions, so I'm happy to answer. If you have questions while we're calling, just pop them in the chat here, and I will respond to your questions. Okay. Yeah, if you're using your phone for Zoom, then go ahead and shoot out some text messages to people. Be thinking about what addresses you can be getting for them. Another question you can do is, hey, when's your birthday? Or I'm updating all of my contact information. I noticed that I'm missing a birthday for you. People love to tell you when their birthday is, and if you can't get it from them, you can usually get it off of Facebook. So just get creative, in the conversation, the initial conversations you're having with people. All right, so how many conversations have we had so far? Are we having success?
Hey, Vic,
Yes.
I just got off the phone with one of my clients who is in the market to buy. She's this close to making a decision to sell her home, but she just gave me a referral of her uncle who is looking to relocate in the next 2 months from Cincinnati, Ohio.
There you go.
So
Congratulations.
I just got his information. I said, can you go ahead and give him a call or a quick text to let him know I'm going to be calling him tomorrow?
There you go. I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
I'm excited.
And now, just like that, you're getting ready to turn one lead into 2 and potentially 3 deals. So I'm excited. So remember the goals for calling today, is to try to get some appointments if you can. And remember, because of COVID, you guys can leverage, having appointments over the computer, doing Google Meets or Zooms. That makes it a lot easier for people to want to meet with you. So don't be afraid to say, hey, let's set up some time over Google Meet, or let's do a virtual coffee. That's easy for people to say yes to right now. So get to that point. And then when you get to that point, you can then move in to learn more about what it is, where they are in life and what you can do to serve them as a real estate professional. And also don't forget to ask for any referrals like Janet just did, who now that's getting ready to potentially turn into a deal. So keep in mind, your conversation doesn't have to be focused on, what are you doing right now? Just get to the appointment, build the relationship, and then you'll be able to close the deal at that point. So, when I'm doing my lead gen and I'm talking to people from all over, I usually, for the past couple of years, I've been getting maybe 3 or 4 referrals outbound, and then maybe closer to 2 or 3 coming inbound each year. So referral business is still business, and it's business that you have to do a lot less work for you to still be able to earn income. So don't be afraid to talk to anybody anywhere. It doesn't matter where they are. They don't have to be here for you to count them as a contact and a potential lead for any type of business. All right, so we have about 10 more minutes. And then once the 10 minutes is up, we're going to talk about some of your successes and some of your experiences with calls you just made. And then what you're going to do is for anyone you've contacted, you're going to make sure that you set aside their information to send them a thank you note in the mail. All right. So those of you guys who are not on screen, are you not on screen because you're on your Zoom, you're on Zoom on your phone, or?
Yeah, Zoom on my phone.
Okay. All right. I just want to be able to, I want to, you know, I'm not the one that's keeping track. I want to make sure that you get your credit. So, all right. So yes, you are on Zoom on your phone. Perfect. Okay. Just kind of keep us updated. I don't want, you know, the moderators to not count your time.
Hey, Vic.
Yes.
I was actually just typing in the chat, but I had a potential buyer client ask me to email them like a buyer questionnaire. So that's what I was doing now. Should I wait and do that till later?
Do you have something prepared right now?
Yes, sir.
No, I would go ahead and send it to him right now. I mean, you just had the conversation with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go ahead and send it over to him right now.
Okay. Just want to make sure that's why I'm not on the phone.
I just want you guys to know that the power of what it is you're doing right now, and how in the beginning, me personally, I used to think, man, this is so silly. And then when you begin to kind of really just do it, you'll find that so many more people are going to find you than you finding them. And it really happens so magically, and it really happens so big. And I'm kind of excited for where you guys are. All right, who's having success? I see quite a few people on the phones. Are we making contact with people? Oh, we got another appointment, Janet. Congratulations.
I just want to say this. y'all better speak life over y'all businesses. Those affirmations do work. After that business planning clinic that our team lead had a few weeks, I wrote some goals down and I just focused on that. And I cannot say enough how much that has changed my effort, because at one point I felt like I was being driven away from my business and I wouldn't move. So speak of your business and just do it. You never know. I hadn't talked to this lady in months. And now we have a Google Duo appointment tomorrow and she's wanting to list and sell. And it might be next year, mid-year, but hey, I'm starting now.
It's so easy. It's, to me, in my opinion, it's so much easier to land appointments because people don't mind meeting with you over the computer. We don't mind doing anything over the computer, right? Because that's just the nature of where we've gotten with technology. So people are more willing to say, hey, yeah, I do a Google Meet or a Google Duo or a FaceTime with you. Do that. I mean, use the technology. And once you get to the appointment, I mean, I think it's up to you to close it. So that's where the script thing is going to help you understand what probing questions you can ask. And a lot of times what people are going to do is they're going to come to you and ask you about real estate before you ask them about real estate. And then that really opens the door. So yeah, I see that a lot of you guys are on the phones. I can't wait to see. We have about 4 more minutes, and then we'll do a report out on what you've discovered and who you've spoken to, and if you've landed appointments. Hopefully you have landed appointments, and then you'll be able to take that momentum into the next few weeks. All right, we have 2 more minutes. All right, this will be wrapping up your calls in about the next 20 seconds. And then we're going to jump back on. We're going to talk about who you've spoken to and what successes you've had. All right. All right. So welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. So let's start with, who wants to talk about what just happened? What were some of your successes? Talk to me about, people.
I'll go.
Yeah. Thanks, Carol. How are you?
Perfect. I'm good. Well, for me, it wasn't, I didn't get appointments or anything, but my main fear, and I'll use the word fear, has been just reaching out to people whom I haven't spoken to in ages.
Mhm.
So one of them was one of my ex-bosses. He didn't pick up, but I left a message. And as I kept calling folks, it just felt easier.
Yes.
I got in touch with a girlfriend I hadn't spoken to in a hot minute. I got her mailing address. I want to drop a card in the mail for her. So that's a good segue for me. She was busy with the grandkids, so we couldn't talk for long. And then another girlfriend of mine I hadn't spoken to in, when I say ages, got her voicemail but left her a message. And another one, but she's busy doing COVID helpline stuff. And another one got her voicemail to who I used to work with.
Okay.
So for me, I just had to realize that it just flows easier. You don't feel so awkward. And yeah, it means it's not so hard. So I'll just keep doing it and take it from there.
You never know when that one phone call is going to turn into $1 million listing. You never know who that person you're calling, you never know who they know, right?
Mhm.
Never know if that might be a celebrity, if that might be a football player. And I'm just thinking big because that's how I want you guys to think. And those are some of the things that have happened to me just by making phone calls. And you're like, wow, you get the opportunity when you take the fear out of it. And like you said, it got easier. That's kind of how it'll get, right? Is, you know what? You don't have anything to lose. Nothing. You have everything to gain. Everything. And that's what's important. So I'm happy you feel that way because that's how it's supposed to feel. And thank you for sharing. All right, who else wants to talk to us about their calls?
I'll go ahead and share. This is Shelby. So my biggest, I guess, fear going into making calls is how to start and initiate the conversation. So I went through my phone and I called someone I went to high school with that I haven't talked to in a while. And we were actually supposed to have our high school reunion this year, but due to COVID, it was canceled. So I kind of started the conversation off that way with just like, hey, I was looking forward to getting to see you, but obviously everything's happened. We didn't get that. And then just kind of catching up and then asking them what they've been up to lately, which led to them asking me what I've been up to lately, which led to me saying, hey, I'm actually doing real estate. And they aren't looking for a home, but they were telling me they had a really bad experience with their real estate agent and that a good friend of theirs is actually looking for a home. So hopefully that will work out because they were like, oh, I'm definitely going to pass along their message. And we just kind of caught up a little bit after that some more, but it was a good kind of segue because it's we didn't get to catch up. So now what are you doing and what am I doing?
So what you need to do is definitely set an appointment to kind of learn more about what they're doing.
Okay.
And you definitely need to send them a thank you card for the conversation because what that will do is kind of affirm they've already had a bad experience. Yeah. So if you can show them a different type of experience, what that'll do is open the door for you to now become their agent, and not only their agent, but their friends' agents as well. Yeah. So I think you have a solid lead. So follow it up with the protocol to follow it up with. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Go into sending a thank you card and say, hey, you know what? Once you send a thank you card, follow with them and say, I really enjoyed our conversation last week or a couple of days ago. I would love to sit down and have a coffee with you somewhere. Tell me about your experience with your other agent. And then just kind of spin it as, I definitely don't want to be that kind of agent, and then eventually they turn their mindset about what a true real estate professional is supposed to be, puts the ball in your court.
Okay. That's a really good idea. Make sure I follow up with her, not just with a thank you, but tell me about your experience.
Absolutely. Okay. People want personal relationships, and the people who are most successful in this industry, they know people on a personal level. They want to know that they can trust you. They want to know the kind of character you have. I mean, these are things that go without saying, right?
Yeah.
You're helping people buy the biggest purchase they're arguably going to make for most people. And so they need to be able to have some type of rapport and trust with you. And if they've had a bad experience, I kind of want to know why.
Yeah, what happened? Okay.
What happened, right?
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right, who else wants to share? I don't know. We have about 50 people on this call. You guys, come on now.
Hey, Vic, I do have a question about something you just said.
Mm-hmm.
When you say that you ask them, what was the experience like?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a little bit of danger of crossing into that ethics bashing the previous guy? Have you ever experienced that, or how would you make sure you avoid that?
Well, so I mean, I don't get into anything that will cross over into fair housing, but I do think it's fair for people to share, what that, if it was what if it was bad communication, right? What if it was?
And I get that's the part I'm trying to get. I just don't. I've seen conversations like that where they drag you into it. So what do you think about what they did?
I don't get into anything. I mean, I would say, if it crosses over into anything that's fair housing or ethical, I just say, I think that's kind of not what I was hoping to get out of the conversation. And, I don't want to go down that road. And then I just kind of tell them that. And I've had to tell people that before, when you start talking and things start crossing over into racial and things like that. I was like, it's not, I specifically want to know experience, what did you enjoy or what you didn't enjoy about the experience? And if it goes off into a tangent that it's not supposed to go, I say, my duty as a realtor, right? My ethical duty as a realtor is to not go down that road. And that's kind of a tough conversation you have to have. If you're in this industry long enough, you will have it with people, and you can't be afraid to have it. And you can't be afraid to lose business over that, because you are holding yourself to the highest standard that we expect as a real estate professional.
All right, thank you. I was just trying to frame all that in my mind.
Mm-hmm. I've had it several times, Wes, and it's not easy.
I've done it in other industries, but not real estate. So I'm just trying to make sure I stay within the bounds.
All right, tell me more, you guys. How what were some of your experiences with your calls now? What were some of your successes? Were you rejected at all? Did people hang up on you? Like, I want to hear all of that.
Okay, I'll say mine because it definitely didn't go as amazing as I thought it would. In terms of this person that I called, he was referred to me by someone I knew who told me she would have interest in purchasing a home within the next year, as well as her cousin. So I didn't know her cousin. So I was like, okay, let me use this opportunity to call her cousin. I called him, he picked up, introduced myself and told him how I got his number, which is, from his cousin. Then I said, I just wanted to confirm with you the details that she gave me. And I apparently had his last name spelled wrong. And his last name is actually Bonner, Bonner. And I said, I had just one N. So I'm like, is it Bradley Bonner? And he's like, wow, it's actually two N's, Bonner. So that was kind of awkward because I ended up saying Bonner, but it's Bonner. And the benefit is that I corrected it in my database. And now I have his correct email to send him everything. And it was a quick laugh. He laughed. So it was, we created a warm, even though it was kind of like a cold because I didn't know him. He found it funny. So, yeah.
I think what's really cool about this is the more you talk to people, the more you'll figure out, like, you can do like mini disc profiles on people to kind of figure out how you can reinvent the conversation to fit that person's personality. Like if the people are high-eyed, they'll just laugh at you. Ha, 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 ha. Oh man, people get my name wrong all the time. And then that's a conversation started, right? Then you have your real serious people who are like, you called me, you should have known that it was two N's, right? So you can like reinvent the conversation to fit. And you know what? I used to take conversations very serious. I just take myself so serious, and I realize just loosen up, and then the conversations get easier. You're like, man, you know what? I'm just, I'm really just calling to kind of see, how you're doing. I'm not really trying to sell myself to anyone. People who are going to work with you, they're going to work with you because they want to work with you. There are a million real estate professionals they could work with, but these conversations help facilitate, how you're able to like engage. So I would definitely follow up with them for sure.
I definitely will. I'm gonna send him like a thank you card because I did not get his mailing address. He seemed like he was out, so I didn't want to put the conversation go too far in the conversation. So I'll start off with email communication until we get a better report.
Long as you remember to follow up with a call and try to get some type of remember, like, people are getting a ton of email, so they may miss your email or may go to spam. So we can't really rely on email. Now, if you want to do like a phone, you can also send a virtual card like through text. I mean, so what we do know is people have their hands in their phone, right? So if you can sort of follow up not only with an email, but do kind of like some text communication, a phone call, and then work it so that you can put something in the mail to them, I think you have solid grounding for being able to turn a solid contact into something that could be business for you.
Agreed. So I'm gonna try the virtual text with like one of the templates for the happy holidays or thank you for the call. One of those. I'm gonna do that by text.
Awesome. All right, Kristen, let's scroll down a little bit further. We kind of talked a little bit about writing your thank you notes and making sure that, people that you've spoken to on the phone today, you're sending them thank you notes in the mail. And if you haven't gotten their contact information, meaning their mailing address, now's a good time to kind of send them a text message or give them a call tomorrow, thanking them for the conversation, and then following up with a mailing address so that you can drop a thank you card in the mail.
I have a question.
Yes.
If we're sending out holiday cards, could we send them a holiday card and just put like thank you in the?
Yeah, I would do that. I think we're close enough to the holiday where instead of doing a thank you note right now, just kind of thank them in the holiday card, and that's sufficient.
Yeah, because I actually got a couple addresses to send out some cards, so I'm like gonna run to Target after this.
Trust me, if you call people now, it doesn't matter if you've spoken to them 10 years ago and you say, hey, listen, I've been really thinking about you. I want to drop you a holiday card in the mail. What is a great address? If you say it just like that, people are going to say, oh, wonderful. Here's my mailing address. And then it's a win-win, right? You drop them a card in the mail, hopefully more items in the mail over the course of the year, but you're really genuine in your approach to sending them a card with a nice little note. They're going to appreciate getting that, especially considering the kind of year a lot of people have had, right? We just don't know. Some people, it's been a very tough year, and a card in the mail may be what they need to be uplifted, especially around the holidays.
And do you suggest putting no business card in the holiday card, right?
I wouldn't put a business card in the holiday card because you really want to be organic. I think if you're doing your thank you card, then yeah, put that in there. But I think there's an art to how you get business and an art to how you touch people. I think if it's going to be a holiday card and you want to wish them a happy holidays, then let it just be that with your name. And just a small little message. And then once you have the address, you can go into a more formal 8x8 or 36 touch system where you are proactively trying to get business. All right, so let's scroll down a little bit further. All right, so we are going to talk about getting your head in the game. Get the listing sold by attracting buyers to listings. All right, so let's talk about at this point, you've spoken to a couple clients, you've landed a couple appointments, and you've demonstrated to a seller that, hey, you're the perfect person to help get my listing sold, and you get the signed listing agreement and all the wonderful things you do. So let's talk a little bit more about like that process. What do you expect from landing a listing appointment? Like, tell me what you know right now, and your expectations for getting the home sold. Like, from what you know, how are you supposed to attract buyers to your listings?
Professional photography.
Okay.
Holding open houses.
Okay.
Aging.
Okay.
Always listing on a Thursday.
Okay.
Promoted on social media.
All right. All right. What else?
We get emails when Keller Williams agent puts something for sale. I'm not sure how we list it, but that happens.
Okay.
Make sure it's priced competitively, but not too high or definitely not too low.
Okay. Yeah, these are all critical things. And what usually helps me when I'm selling a listing is I'm able to do a pre-listing kit, right? To kind of uncover like all of the things that they want. Some people, you have to be mindful too that some people may not want to be listed in the MLS. So how do you market that property, right? Some people do want to be listed in the MLS. How does that happen? Some people may not want staging, and it's your job to kind of convince them that staging through fact is going to help get it sold for top dollar. So these are all conversations you have to kind of prepare for. You can't just walk away from a listing agreement saying, okay, we're just going to put your home in the MLS and we're going to take some professional photos, and then we're going to hope that a buyer is going to come to your house. What I found is that you really have to do a lot more than that. And with more experience, I think you're going to find that as well. But all of the things you have said have been great. You do have to get professional photography. You do have to hold open houses. You do have to do all of those things to help market the property. Social media, you do have to do all those things. They're helpful. So let's go down a little bit further.
I was curious, why wouldn't anybody want to be listed in MLS?
Some people are just private people. Some people don't want to go to the open market. Some people prefer that. For this various situations that they may not want to go to the open market, but still want a broker to hold the listing and market the property. Some people stay in some really nice areas where you don't need to market the property. Neighbors usually choose their neighbors. So if you're in that kind of a neighborhood, just being mindful of everything that can come with fair housing with that, you have to navigate that very carefully. But those are some of the preliminary questions you need to ask a seller in terms to, hey, we're willing to take on your listing. How do we want to market? How do you prefer that we market the property? All right.
I've seen also where a listing will say no FHA, no VA, where they only want cash or conventional. Is that something a seller can do as well?
I don't, if you ever see a listing where if they're saying I don't think, so that is a violation, right? When you're putting in your listing agreement, no FHA, no VA, things like that, that is a form of discrimination, right? It doesn't. Now, on the flip side of that, sellers can decide the type of financing they will take, right? But it's not anything that you can actively say that I want or don't want, because that does eliminate people, and for various reasons. So what I do is, you accept all offers and present all offers to people. you kind of help them understand the pros and cons of the type of financing. And usually you can get a better idea if you're calling the lenders and having those conversations versus looking at whether it's a VA loan or FHA loan or a conventional loan. But having actual conversations with the lenders for the offers that come in can give you a better idea of how to frame your conversation with your seller to determine whether this is the type of person you want to enter into contract with.
When you talk to them about marketing, do you start off by asking them how they want to market, or do you present to them, this is how I'm going to market?
Yeah.
Is there anything in there you don't like?
Yeah, I would do exactly that. I would say, look, here is 1,000,001 ways we can get your house sold, because at the end of the day, a seller wants to get their home sold. And if you can present to them all of these different ways and cool things that you can do, they're 9 times out of 10 going to be very open to them, right? Because they want it sold yesterday, right? But then there are some things that, there may be some things in your marketing plan that they don't like. Then at that point, you can say, okay, well, we can take this out. We can take this out, but I would present to them everything you would like to do, and then let them decide what it is they want to do.
So Vic,
Go for it.
how do you handle situations where we viewed a property earlier to show, and it was priced at around, I want to say it was listed at, let's say, right at 400,000, but the countertops, you walk into the house, the kitchen countertops were the house was really busy, just in terms of the aesthetic. It was just really busy. The floors were different types of flooring. And I was wondering, from a listing perspective, someone listed it, how do you handle that? Because it just feels like it would be challenging, and I could tell where the owner tried to do some work to it, but I can also see where it would probably be a tough sell, just because of the price point, and the homes around it probably look much better on the inside. So how do you handle those? You talking countertops, floors, just all over the place. How would you handle that?
Yeah, I think when you go in, for your consultation to list a home, I think one of the things you are doing is having conversations around the condition, right? And making comparables to homes that are in the neighborhood that have sold for price points. So when you take your CMAs and you're like, listen, when we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges, this is what is selling for this price point, and this is the condition of the house. If the house is very busy, right, you can present at that time an opportunity to say, hey, listen, let's put together a plan to get it into the condition it needs to be to sell it for top dollar. And then I would ask questions around, do they have a budget to do that? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If they don't have a budget to do that, then you might have to come in a little bit below what market value is to get the home sold. And that needs to be a conversation as well. Because we're not at the condition of these other properties, we may need to set the price here or in this ballpark that's going to draw the activity. And I would always level set on, where you see things going, right? If we don't have the activity within the first week or the second week or the third week, if we're not getting the activity that you want, if we're not getting offers that we want, we still may be priced too high for the current condition. So it's very, very, very important for you to kind of follow what's in the model here and preview homes, right? So that kind of what's selling in your neighborhood, the condition those homes are in, and then be able to make the correlation with the condition of your seller to say, I don't believe that we'll be able to get what these homes have gotten. Here's the reason why. And I've had to have that conversation too with several people. You know, I had a client last year, I went to do a listing presentation, and the house was not in great condition. I said, you need to take the time to, you know, get this house into the right condition. Here's what you need to do. And I don't recommend you listen it right now. And so he says, great, I want to take your advice because this is what they're paying you for. And so he took my advice. He got the house into the right condition. He got over 40 offers on it when we did list it. And that's what a seller wants to see. They want to be able to and trust in you that you're going to tell them the right and the most appropriate things to do to get their house sold for top dollar. Now, top dollar may not be the concern for most people. Some people may want to just get out of the deal. I think having the conversations in your listing presentation, you're gonna have to be able to pick up on what's important to the seller. And if it's just, I need to move really fast, you know, I don't care about my seller's net, then okay, let's go ahead and put the home on the market. If it's, I need to make as most money possible, then we need to talk about getting it into the right condition. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. Does that answer your question?
It does, and thank you.
Only because I've had that come up several times myself, and then, you know, sellers come back and say, you know, I wish I had listened to you in the beginning, and we would have gotten rid of the home a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so make it happen, marketing and servicing your listings. So you guys know what fiduciary means. It's a person who is legally or ethically entrusted to manage money or property between two or more parties. So when you're representing a seller, you have a fiduciary responsibility to your seller, meaning when you get that listing agreement signed, your priority is with what it is the seller wishes to do with their home. And so being the seller's fiduciary means servicing and marketing their home in the most effective way. And we like to think of that as staging the property, marketing the listing, and communicating with the seller, which I believe we kind of talked a little bit about all of those things over the past 10 to 15 minutes. Does anyone have any questions about, you know, staging, marketing, or communicating with the sellers? I will tell you that a lot of my challenges with sellers have been in, you know, I don't want to pay for staging. And then their house sits for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, when we could have staged it for the price they've held it, right, for 3 months, paid a mortgage for 3 months, and we could have had it sold. So I think the conversation behind staging is, listen, you know, you may spend a couple thousand on staging, but if we can sell your house for 10 to 15, 20,000 more, right, that will net you more. Is it worth staging to you, right? And they're going to say, yes, it is. So you have to make sure you're having that conversation around the look. We all know that we are an aesthetic driven society. We like nice, shiny things. And so it's up to you to not hold the property, because the longer you hold it, they're going to get frustrated with you. Then if it expires, then you're going to have a mad seller, and more likely you're not going to have a client. So it's important to make sure that you're framing that conversation in the listing agreement. Any questions?
What's your opinion regarding staging versus just basically an empty slate, an empty home?
Well, we'll give you an example. This year, when I was trying to sell a condo, what you're going to run into is when you stage a property, it gives people a vision of what they can do with the space. And also, if it's staged really well, there's kind of a euphoria that comes with walking into a place and it's beautiful, right? And that's kind of what you want. When you don't stage, you don't give any vision for what people can do. And then you leave people thinking, well, maybe I can do this, or maybe I can do that, or maybe I should paint this here, or maybe I should paint that there. And what that ends up turning into is people thinking, well, I have to do a lot of work to this place, right? And so when you leave like that many questions on the table for a prospective buyer, then you have that many opportunities that people can walk away and into something else that will give them that vision, right? There's nothing like walking into something that's already done, right? And you're like, man, this is awesome. I want that. Versus, yeah, I thought it was a cool space, but I'm not sure how to use it, or I'm not sure what I would do with it. And then you lose the opportunity. So it's a tough conversation when it comes to staging because people don't want to spend the money, but you have to understand their motivation. If they really want to sell it for top dollar, if they really want to sell it fast, you have to convince them that staging is appropriate.
Because I'm thinking, Vic, with that house I described earlier, had it been staged, I probably would have paid less attention to the busy floors, what was off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because people then see the small cosmetic things as things that they can, oh, you know, I love the space, I love what they did with it. You know, maybe I might paint a wall or two, but I love it enough that I can buy it.
Hey, Vic, I have a question about the staging at the listing appointment. Is that something that you put in the listing agreement as far as staging? You know, seller will have home house will be staged at seller's expense, or, you know, how would you address that in the listing agreement if the home is empty, they don't live there, and it needs to be staged?
I think what most people do is, as a listing agent, they will hire a staging consultant, and they would assume that fee for the consultant. Usually, $150, $200 is a fee that you say, listen, I'm going to, in my listing agreement, I'm going to hire a consultant to come out to give you some ideas on staging your home. Some people will put that they will have the house stage in the listing agreement, not to exceed X amount of dollars. Some people won't. I mean, it's totally up to the seller. I don't know if I would put that in the listing agreement to have them kind of bound to that, because that may make them feel a little reluctant to sign the agreement, knowing that, you know, I have to do this. I think it's kind of something that needs to be understood. And then by you saying you're going to provide the consultant, they'll be on board with it. But it's your business and you're an independent contractor, so you can determine how you do that. Just know that when you start adding a ton of things to the listing agreement, right, people are going to feel like confined, right? And they're going to feel like they have to do these things, and they're going to be reluctant to kind of sign with you. The goal is to get the signed listing agreement, and your job as a real estate professional is to have an art of persuasion that's going to convince them that if you follow my lead, we're going to get your house sold, and we're going to get it done efficiently and effectively. And so that just comes with conversation. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. All right, so the goals of staging. Here we talk about presenting the best face of the house, meaning, you know, just kind of knowing what's going to show best in photography, right? I think that's kind of where you leave it up to the professional. But you ever have those houses where they don't start with like the outside of the house, or they start with like the interior, and you're like, oh, immediately, oh, something must be wrong with the house. That's kind of where, you know, you like to depend on the photographer to kind of sort of give you different angles and shots, to, you know, kind of help kind of with like where things should and shouldn't be. So here's where a consultant will help, right? When it comes to staging. You talk about like decluttering. Have you guys ever been into houses where everybody has put everything in a garage and out of the way? Have you seen that when you've shown houses? No, not yet. So here's what listing agents will do when they go to create staging, or a consultant. They will tell everyone to like get rid of and declutter the home. And what most people will do is they will use their garage as a space where they store everything that's not necessary, you know, out of sight. And by doing this, it helps clean the space up a little bit, and does help create the vision for people to see, you know, what they can do with the space, with what the seller has, with what the seller has, how they've used it. I know you probably have heard of depersonalizing the home. Do you know why that's important? When people say to depersonalize the house, not to have like family photos and pictures up and things like that.
They need to be able to picture themselves in that house.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so tell me a few other, like, just thinking of why you think staging is important. You know, help me name a few other things for why you think, you know, why we need to stage this home.
To make it more modern.
Yeah.
Something that I was thinking of, Vic, is you can immediately elevate like the property itself, make it feel more luxurious than it actually is, just by putting some expensive items in there on a temporary basis.
Yeah. So yes, that's exactly right. You know, when you go, I think one home that I had, I just kind of went to like Home Goods and just kind of bought a couple fake plants and things like that. I think when you do things like that, people they do get the feel of like how they could live in the space. Also, the smells, right? I don't know if you've shown many houses or not, but smells are very important. And so you may want to be mindful of like overly strong smells. People may have plugins or things like that. People may have candles in their homes, but all those things impact a person's experience. So, and that's part of staging. That how you can create a space for people to perceive it to be theirs. I think that's the art of getting it sold at a very fast rate. All right, let's go down a little bit further. All right. So take a look at this for a second and hopefully this gives you some idea of what staging will do for a property, right? The simple fact that 30% of realtors report a 1 to 5% increase in their offer price, that is true. And even though that says NARF 2015, that is still true to this day, right? Those people, those real estate professionals who report that they've staged their homes, they do report a lot more offers on their homes and at higher prices. And these are things and conversations that you need to be having with your sellers. Okay, let's go down a little bit further. Do you all have any questions about staging so far? No.
How expensive is staging? How expensive?
I think so. It really depends on what you're staging and how long you're staging. If you're talking like, you know, kitchens and things like that, depending on what needs to be brought in, that's kind of what the consultant will help you determine. And also the types of things you're staging, material. I think it's going to really depend on the price point of your home. Different price points will require a different aesthetic, and that may determine how much you pay for staging.
So are you typically there when during the staging process? Do you make recommendations, or is the staging just between the seller and the staging consultant?
One thing I learned is I stay in my lane. What I will do is I will leave that up to the consultant because that's their expertise. But for the sake of when we have to get photography and things done, I am on board to kind of sort of understand what they want to do, because ultimately you'll be held responsible for if the house sells or not. So I don't say what goes in and out of the property. I will say, you know, for the sake of this photo or these few photos, we may want to do this in this room, or we may want to do that in this room. But that may just be for photos. Once the photos are taken, then we can stage it how the consultant suggests so that we can allow for some vision for prospective buyers.
Vic?
Yes.
You would be there for the consultation?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yep, I would be there for the consultation.
So
Because you got to be able to bridge the gap between it. I mean, you know the seller, right? And if the consultant is saying, hey, we may want to hang rainbow art throughout the house because this is a great theme in a home for rainbows. And then your seller is like, I'm not really into rainbows. I still think you have to be able to kind of guide the conversation a little bit to come to a win-win for what's going to help it sell and being a medium for, because keep in mind, you know, your seller is going to be very emotionally attached, but we got to be able to take the emotion out of it because we're talking about selling the home, right? And so you have to be able to help guide that discussion with the consultant. The consultant wants to be able to do what we need to do to sell it. The seller may be saying, no, I don't think this is right, or no. So there has to be some type of party in there to help make it go smooth.
Hey, Vic, I was going to add something. Years ago, I did staging. I got out of the business because it wasn't my thing anymore. But I did staging in Alpharetta. And typically when we did an appointment, the real estate agent would call myself, the stager, also the photographer, and we would be there in tandem. And then we'd mark everything with red and green stickers, what stays, what goes. And a lot of times we'd get the question, well, how much is this going to cost? And usually we would base everything assuming 30 days on the market to say, budget about 1% of the price you're trying to gain or sell for. And that was usually just ballpark figures of what we would put out. And obviously it costs more if they wanted to go cheaper and it stayed on the market for longer, because basically they're renting these items. Because if it stays in their house, then, you know, my items were not available to me. So if they would remain in the house for 2, 3, 4 months, then obviously those are costs that just keep incurring. So, you know, everybody in the game wants it to sell quickly because they want their house sold. I need my items back, and so on and so forth.
That's good information. The longer you go in the market. So the idea of staging is to get it sold fast. If you're finding you're not selling the home fast, there is something else. Maybe you'll discover that in the feedback. This is very important. If you discover in the feedback that people are telling you that the home is overpriced, or if people are telling you that the street is too busy, these are all things the seller needs to know so that you can get the reduction immediately and to get the home sold. So yeah, I mean, if you're staged property at 4 months, there's another issue. If you're on the market 3 months with staged property, there's an issue. You know, so yeah, that's good information, Ryan. Thanks for sharing. And I agree. I think you should be there with your client, and if you can have the photographer there, they should all be there together as well.
Yeah, it was really important that we overlap with the photographer. There would be times that I would ask to reschedule if the photographer wasn't there, because I'm envisioning their space through somebody physically walking into the house, and the photographer is envisioning the space through the eye of a lens to a digital photograph. So it is important that I think photographer and stager be there at the exact same time.
And to also understand the shots that are important to your seller. If your seller redid their kitchen, obviously they're gonna want immaculate photos of the kitchen, right? And you wanna make sure that that's captured as cleanly as possible in the best way possible.
Sure.
So you have to understand what's important to you know, maybe your seller redid their backyard, right? And what if you got photos of no backyard?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if they redid their bathrooms and you got one photo of their bathroom, right? When we know kitchens and bathrooms help sell homes. So yes, to answer that question, you should be there with your photographer. You should be there with the consultant. All right.
So I have a small question, really quick. When staging, is it ever a chance where you only do staging for photographs, or is that just kind of like a waste of money depending on how they are charging for staging?
Some people will do so lots of people are staging now, and there's lots of different products you can do that people are doing like half stages or half staging. What I will say is to get to this point, when people walk into vacant homes, it's a different feel, right? And what you want people to walk into is a home that they feel at home in. And so if you can leave the staging in there for a little bit, that's what I would advise. And I tell you from experience, I had a condo that wasn't staged, and every condo around it was staged, and ours was in just the same condition, except it wasn't staged. But guess what home sold and what didn't?
The staged.
It's important. And then when you go and you show this to your client, you say, listen, you know, here's our condo, here's their condo. Tell me what the difference is and why theirs was off the market in 4 days and why we're still in the market a month later.
Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's the staging. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. All right, so let's talk about a few objections. One, I don't see why this is so important. How would you handle that objection?
And I understand how you feel. I have other clients that have felt the same way. What they've found is that by staging the home, you can increase the amount of offers that you get. It presents the house in a better fashion, and it'll help move the house faster.
Absolutely. Or it can go a little something like this. Hey, I don't see why this is important for staging. I would say something like, well, help me understand your motivation. Is it we want to move, you know, we want to be off the market pretty fast, or we want to sit in the market for a long time? I think those probing questions will get you to where you need to be. That's great. Was that US? Can't see.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's good. I think I would do exactly what you just said. So we have another
question. The old feel, felt, found.
Absolutely. Right. Do you want to sit on the market forever and not sell the home, or do you want to move fast and make top dollar? Here's another one. Do we really have to make this repair? How would you handle that objection?
I think basically it's kind of one of those things where it's like you can either make this repair or just know that in the future a buyer is going to ask you to take this off of the price. I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I've responded to that question before with saying most people, like most average customers, are not visionaries. If it's an investor, they may walk into a place that needs repair and be like, I don't care, I can fix this, I'm going to tear it up anyway. But most average buyers, I would say, are not visionaries.
And if you're getting first-time home buyers, they're going to run away, right? Because they don't know what they don't know. And I'm not saying that for every first-time home buyer, but we know first-time home buyers are kind of already on edge, right? For this is their first time doing this. So those are great ways to think about it, to help them think how a repair could impact their bottom line. That's in the discussion, right? If we don't make the repair, we may be looking at a request for repairs in the due diligence period, right? At the home inspection. We may be looking at taking it off the price of the home. We may be looking at a closing cost credit. So yeah, this could potentially impact what you're able to bring home from the sale. Absolutely. Here's another one. Why can't we sell the house as is? How would you handle that objection?
It won't pass.
Okay, say that one more time. I think we lost you. Okay. Not sure who that is.
Passes.
Oh.
Okay, who's speaking? We can't see. All right, let's go to the next person. How would you guys handle that objection? Why can't we sell the house as is?
I really liked what you said kind of in response to the first one, where you kind of put it back on them and you say, well, help me understand your motivation here. right? Because if we sell the house as is, we're only going to attract a kind of a narrow scope of potential buyers. But by really investing in the home, you can attract a wider buyer base and potentially get more for the entire sale of the home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it all comes down to how quickly they may want to sell and for how much they may want to sell. It's completely different perspective from a buyer. If a seller is putting their house on the market, they want to get out of the deal, right? But also just kind of knowing maybe they don't have a mortgage on the house, so they may not, a quick sale may not be important to them. Those are real things you may have to encounter, right? Or maybe they do have a mortgage on the home and something came up and they need to sell really fast. So I think just kind of knowing their situation will help you answer a lot of the objections that may come up. When you talk about selling the house as is, my question I would immediately go to the condition. If it's in a great condition, of course we can sell it as is. If it's not in a great condition, then we need to talk about what our options are. And that's a tough conversation because some people don't have money to do repairs. Some people don't have money to paint. Some people don't have money to do a lot of those things. And so that is kind of where they're really depending on you as a professional to say, these are our options. And this is kind of where I think it'll land us considering where we are. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. Let's talk about marketing the listing. All right, you guys have a 14-step marketing plan, which you will present to your sellers, and you're all pretty familiar with it. Have you completed that yet? Yes, we will be having a break soon. Actually, we've been going for quite a bit. So let's actually take a second right now. We'll do like a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back. Okay.
Have them stay on a minute. I have to take screenshots.
Okay.
Just one moment, people.
And I'm going to hang around here. I know some of you, I see quite a few questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer questions you may have while we are on break.
So I have a question. I had a friend whose mother is looking to sell her home. Mm-hmm. She is an elderly woman, so she doesn't have a phone. Yeah. So I got lucky enough to find her address on Google. So I went by there, got lucky enough to get through the gate. She said that she has a couple of things that she wants to take care of before she actually lists, but she does like Keller Williams. So her son, when I got there, her son told me she was asleep, but soon after I left, she ended up calling me and we talked, and she told me that. I was wondering, how soon should I reach back out to her to not seem like I'm trying to kind of like overcrowd her with it or whatever?
Yeah, I think if she's reaching back out to you and so she's ready to go now, what you don't want is for some other agent to swoop in with an awesome marketing plan. And then she says, oh, wow, this is wonderful. Let's get a house put on the market. So, what I would do is, do you have your 14-point marketing plan already together?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay. So what I would do is there are some templates. What market center are you a part of?
Peachtree Road.
Okay. So reach out to me. I'll drop my email, and this is for any of you. You feel free to reach out to me anytime. I will show you. There is a 14-point marketing plan you could use to kind of take it and run with. I would also set. So you went by there. I would also set. It's kind of hard because you said you don't. Well, you said she called you back, right?
She did, but so it was kind of like, okay, so I got there, her son answered the door. He told me she was asleep. I gave him my card, told him who I was with, what I was coming by for. And then when I left, she called. And she was just kind of like, my son just told me you came to the door, whatever, you're with Keller Williams. I do want to sell, but I'm not really ready to sell. She honestly, actually, she didn't say she wanted to sell. She was just saying that she wasn't ready yet because she has some things she wanted to take care of.
So then what I would do is I would go back by set up a more formal appointment.
Okay.
And kind of understand what it is she's thinking, because if it's something minor, right? We don't know what it is. You may be able to help source her, and then she's going to really feel like she has an advocate. So if it's, hey, I want to paint, well, guess what? I have a preferred vendor list of painters. Let me give you their contact information so we can get we can connect you, to help get you some estimates. Oh, I want to replace some flooring. Wonderful. Here's another group of flooring people I want to connect you with. Let's get some quotes on the flooring, right? But what I would do before you do all of that is go back and tell her what you can do for her to get it sold, right? Get a listing agreement signed, right? And then once you have the listing agreement signed, kind of help her prepare the home. And then you can determine your live date down the road.
Okay. So how soon do you think I should reach back out to her to set up that appointment? I just spoke to her on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's already about to be Friday.
Yeah.
I would give her a call tomorrow to say, hey, Mrs. Mary, it was great speaking to you this week. I would love to stop by tomorrow to tell you, what we can do to get your home sold. I have a couple ideas in mind, right? She's gonna say, great, come on by. Make sure you take the listing agreement with you.
Wouldn't it be too soon if she just said she wasn't ready? You don't think that's too soon?
Well, we don't know. We need to have the conversation. Why does she feel like she's not ready? If it's some landscaping things, or if it's paint, if it's holes in the wall, what I'm saying is use that opportunity to help provide her with resources.
Right, because I did tell her that I would be, more than happy to be her advocate, So, and I know her son mentioned to me that she was saying that the house would have to be sold as is because she doesn't have vanity mirrors. But I'm like, that's something so small, like if I wanted the listing, I think that it would be up to me. So you know what? I'll take care of that part for you,
Well, keep in mind, a lot of people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And if you take her comps, right, and you say, hey, you're right now, as it stands, your house will sell for $200,000, right? And you walk into the home, and if she does a $2,000 paint job, if she does some flooring work, and it can get her $225, $230, I think she needs you to help her understand that.
Right.
Right. If it's something that won't do that, then you also have that conversation. I think the most important part is you have an opportunity to get a listing agreement. So get the listing agreement signed, and then help her. Maybe now isn't the time to go live, but it doesn't stop you from going live in February or March.
Okay.
And then you're using the time now into that time to prepare the house. Right.
Okay. Kind of put her on like a coming soon.
Absolutely. Well, you can't really do a coming soon right now because you have to be.
No, I mean, once I get the listing, like if I was to get the listing, but I kind of work with her up until it's ready.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people do that. A lot of people, very savvy listing agents, get a listing agreement and they say, let's get your home prepped. Right. And then we're going to set a live date for here.
Okay.
Yep.
That works. Thank you.
In her case, could you do something along almost treating it as going back with the service? I was thinking about you this week, and the more I thought about it, I realized I had some resources that might be able to help you get this house ready to sell. You mind if I come and sit down and talk and get a better what you're doing and see if we can't connect you with the right people?
Absolutely.
So Vic, let me say this one last thing, because what's kind of hard too is that she's a retired nurse. She is a little sickly, and even her son that I know, she won't allow him to come to the house unless he gets a COVID test. Is there a way that, like, maybe should I set up like some type of Google duo call or like Zoom or something?
I've been doing a lot of virtual appointments with people. And that's actually been way more effective for me because you can pull things up on the screen for them. So if she has that ability to do that, send her pre-work over email if she has email, right? Or you could have something, you can have documents sent to her postal mail, either, priority, or you can have it couriered to her so that she has physical copies. Then she's going to be really impressed, right? That, oh my gosh,
Right.
at least had documents couriered to me, and then when you are able, and that's the other thing is, if she can't meet virtually, but she has the documents, you can go over them over the phone with her, right?
Okay.
I honestly think this is the best way to do things right now. That's going to protect you and protect your clients. So
Okay.
first ask, do you have the ability to meet virtually? If you don't, wonderful. I'll have a couple of things sent priority mail to you. You'll receive it in a couple of days. I'll call you. We can go over them over the phone.
That sounds good. I think I'm gonna go that route.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have any other questions? I know we're on break, but I'm here. I'm hanging around answering questions for anyone who has questions.
I have a question related about the lender, the Keller Williams lender.
Mhm.
I heard that if we use the Keller Williams lender, that we save some fees. Is that true?
All right, so you're talking about Keller Mortgage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some benefits to using Keller Mortgage. I honestly don't know all of them. I know that they save you on loan origination. That's kind of one benefit, but you may want to kind of go on the Keller Mortgage Facebook group to kind of see, what they're offering, and it may be by market. I'm not sure, but usually what I found is different markets are offering different things. So, go on the Keller Mortgage Facebook group and see if you can get information about what discounts you may be able to provide for your buyers.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So how many of your listings do staging? Would you say the majority of them, or?
I think it depends on your price point. I think and when I say that, I mean, what I found is when you get up into higher price points, people tend to have nicer things, furniture and things like that. And so you may not need a full stage for the home, depending on the seller's taste. And then there are cases where you have to be honest with people about what's in their house. And if it's not, something that will photograph well, then you got to be able to say, listen, I really want to be honest with you. This will not look great in a photo. And so I'm going to suggest that we stage your house. And then you can get creative with how you do that. Some people will, what they will do is, hey, let me pay for your staging up front, and then you can reimburse me at closing. So you can get creative with, and I would only just how comfortable you feel with the client, because you have to kind of expect that some people may be comfortable or not comfortable with doing things like that. But if it's an issue of financing, right, and if it's gonna prevent you from getting the house staged, then maybe consider it. Maybe say something like, hey, I'll go in and I'll front the cost for staging, and then you can reimburse me at closing. That I would put into the listing agreement, right? And most people, you got to think, a lot of times this is an issue of money and access to money, right? Some people have the cash to do these things, some people don't, but don't let that stop you from getting to the goal. I've done that before. I've said, listen, I'll pay a couple $1,000s. And this is, I know you guys are Ignite. You're probably thinking, I'm just not starting. I don't have any deals, or I'm still trying to get my first deal. All right, I've been there, trust me. But what I've learned at KW has been, this is what seasoned agents do. They'll go in, and this is what gets them their listings, because their clients will say, you know what, that's a great idea. If you go ahead and you front the cost for staging, for example, and pay me back when the house sells, I'm willing to get the house staged. All I'm saying is present them with options, right? That can work for you and work for them. This is all about a win-win. And if that's something that doesn't work for you, then don't present it, right? Well, what I'm saying is, don't lose $1 million listing over staging. Don't lose any listing over staging.
So what would happen in the case, and I think I know the answer, but I'm just curious, in the case where, okay, you pay for the staging, and then for whatever reason, the customer pulls the list, the client pulls the listing.
Yeah. So
they would owe you, right?
Well, I think if we were going to go down that route, what I would do is kind of write something in the listing agreement that says, if home doesn't sell, then seller will reimburse agent for X amount of dollars, right? And I think you can get.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you can do. You know, I would definitely talk to your compliance broker about the language, but that's kind of what I would do. You know, but this is what we're not going to do. We're not going to not get it sold because you're going to price it right, and it's going to be in the right condition, and it's going to sell fast, and then you're going to have raving fan. Yep.
So what happens in the case of it being like two people, like it's a married couple, but it's a widow? Like, what happens with that listing agreement? Like, if that husband or that spouse that passed is still on, like, I guess, like the mortgage or something. Like, I don't know how that works.
So when it comes,
I'll say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know her husband has passed, but when I go on the real list, both of their names are still on like the records.
Yeah. So I think what you have to do is, so when you do your pre-listing kit, there is information in there about how the house is deeded, if it's a widow, and then before you kind of list the home, kind of can go to a closing attorney. You know, I think the Ross Group, we use McManamy, a few other people, kind of go to them to ask them the preliminary questions about, how do we need to handle this before we go live?
Okay.
So I think that's very important. So to get your listing sold, there is pre-work. There is a pre-listing kit of things that you should go over with your seller.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And one of the questions is, are you married? Are you divorced? How's the house deeded? Who's on the deed? Who all needs to sign? And those are all questions that you get, and you kind of do have to run it by the attorneys, as well, kind of just to kind of be sure, because they can pull things in the title record that the seller might not even know. There may be interest in the property that they may not know. They may have inherited the property, and there may be several other people who need to sign off on the sale. So those are kind of things you have to find out, like preliminary, before you go live and get into contract, and then that's a big mess.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we have any other questions? All right, we're gonna be starting back up here in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I know these are very long classes, but I feel like you guys are engaged a little bit. I know it's hard to be on Zoom.
Do you remember how you got your first client?
My first client. So I got my first client, believe it or not, from Agent on Duty. So I signed up for Agent on Duty, and believe it or not, she had a real estate agent, but she wasn't happy with her agent. And so I kind of just said, hey, I'm sorry you haven't had a bad experience. I would love to talk to you a little bit more. Let's set up some time to have a conversation. She said yes. She told me that she felt her real estate agent wasn't aggressive enough in looking for homes. She needed someone who was really aggressive. So then that's kind of how my first deal happened. Actually, my first year, most of my deals came from Agent on Duty. And guess what? In my second year, I got referrals from those people in the first year.
That's good to know. I'm challenged in that I just moved here to Atlanta during the height of the COVID pandemic. So I don't have a ton of circle of influences yet. So
Absolutely. You know, it's yeah, you know, I'm not from here as well, Wes. So I found it in the beginning a little bit difficult to kind of plug in. It's like, well, you know, all of my spheres in North Carolina, all of my spheres in Texas. Like, how am I going to get business here? But what I found there's beauty in Atlanta is people are always coming in and out of the city, very transient city, right? So there's somebody you know in your phone who's moving here or moving away from here. And you just have to be the conduit and kind of helping people figure out, you know, what their next move is going to be, how you can help them. And so that's kind of where my own sphere of influence in my phone, that's kind of where touching all those people became important, and social media became very important. Oh, Vic's doing real estate now. Oh, wonderful. Vic's doing real estate now. And then that turns into, oh, Vic's closing a lot of houses. Okay, so Vic can help me. So there's a process to it. And I think the key is to be consistent. And if you're consistent, it will pay dividends, right? You can't, it's easy to think, well, you know, I'm doing all the work on the front end and I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting paid. I'm doing all this work and I can't see it. And that does happen. We do the work as real estate professionals, we get paid on the back end, but you got to kind of take that part out of it and just say, you know what, I'm just going to show up today. And I think that's the beauty in Keller Williams, because you can go to 1 million classes. Hey, listen, there are how many agents in Metro Atlanta? Do you know that part of the success I've had has been from learning how to write decent contracts and decent language? That's half the battle, right? A lot of people don't get that training. So I think that's important. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. It is 7:31. Let's talk more about marketing your property.
Can everybody turn on your camera so I can get screenshots, please? You have to keep your camera on.
Ooh, I feel like I'm in a CE.
You are.
Okay.
Reason would be is you are.
Awesome. Are you guys okay? All right. I can see most people. Perfect. All right. Okay. So let's talk about marketing your home. And for the sake of the exercise, let's all right. So let's give me an example of someone who has previewed a home recently. Let's talk about one of the homes you previewed. So give us an example of something you've seen and tell us about the property.
Monday. Oh, I'm sorry. If somebody else wants to go, that's fine.
I had a client that was looking out in Douglasville, and we went out to a home that was that showed really, really nice online, but when we got to the house, we saw where it was a reno, and a lot of the work was shoddy. Like, it was poor craftsmanship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so how would you evaluate that, considering like the 14-step marketing plan? Like, how your experience versus like when you see it, how was the pricing? You know, how was it staged? How was the signage? How, I guess obviously the photos were great because it got you to show the house. Tell us a little bit more about the marketing behind getting you there, and then the impact it had when you actually were, you know, was there.
So yeah, photos were great. I mean, the photos were perfect, right? So I was excited. My client was excited. He even brought his kids out because he just knew that this was like B1. And once we got there, it was I mean, honestly, it was awful. It was flat out awful. But the marketing was great. Like I said, because it did get us out there.
Absolutely. Now, would you have done anything differently for this house?
Honestly, I think I would have marketed the house as a not really a handyman special, because they had done some work, but maybe needs a little TLC, something to sort of prepare you for. It looks good, but it's not great, because they even had the inspection out on the kitchen cabinet, and I've never seen an inspection with that many pages and that many errors on it. The house was not staged, so that part of it, you couldn't really envision the home. It was a huge disappointment once we got there.
Okay, so if I'm a seller and you told me we're gonna market my home as a little TLC, I'm gonna be like kind of upset if that expectation wasn't set like in the consultation. I mean, tell me how you would feel about that.
Well, I think maybe after, like, if I feel like I've renovated the home and then someone comes in and tells me, oh, well, we may have to market it as needing a little TLC, yeah, I would have an issue with that. But I mean, it is what it is, I mean, that's being honest.
Yeah, so keep in mind that like when you market a home, like every part of kind of like the language will be a factor from like who you're able to bring into the home. What I would do is, in that position, I would say this house looks great. And what's common practice is a lot of people ask for seller's disclosure, right? That way you kind of know in the beginning, and your buyer kind of knows, okay, this house, there was some work done on it. And it goes without saying that, hey, there was some renovation work, but when you get to see it, you can see, hey, this does need a little bit of work, but we kind of knew that because it says in the seller's disclosure that some work was done on it, it's renovated, this is replaced, things like that. But although you're not supposed to pass over listings like ethically for anything that makes people do it. When people say, oh, this thing's a little TLC, and my client wouldn't be interested in that if it says TLC. But what if that's the perfect client for the home, right? So just be mindful of like the language you're using when it goes to like putting it out there to public, because it made a difference between you finding the perfect buyer for it. So talk to me a little bit more about signage.
So it was actually in the evening time when we went to go see it. So I really don't remember the signage. Wait, were you asking me that question?
Well, just in general, like, so, like, was it, how important do you think signage is?
I think it's very important.
Okay.
Because I've got to notice all the signs as I'm driving around town. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think it helps people who might not be sure that they're in the market yet see something that they're interested in.
Absolutely. So do you guys know that signage helps create more opportunities for you? Right? Do you know that for every day a sign is in your yard or in a yard, that's an opportunity to pick up unrepresented buyers?
Vic, I completely agree with that, because when I was thinking about selling my first home, and I was out walking my subdivision and I saw a sign in somebody's yard, and that's the same firm I used to sell my home. And I mean, so I was just pleased with their work. But yeah, I think it's so key, because I wouldn't have thought, who am I going to reach out to as a real estate firm to help me with my home. And when I saw that person's home, how it looked, and yeah, it was just, yes, I think, again, signage is key to
Yeah.
really getting new buyers and sellers and such.
Yes, it's like a billboard.
It is. It's like a billboard. I, want to talk to you a little bit more about that. Like, so I had a listing that we put a sign in the yard. It went really fast in the contract, and it hasn't closed. And there's still people now who are looking for homes who aren't represented. They're on Trulia, they're on these other sites, and they're looking for homes. And although that home is in contract, that's an opportunity to land another appointment, right? To someone who's, hey, looking to buy right now. So that's very important and then also when people see your name all over the place, they're like, who is this person? Who is Carol? Who's Ariel? Who's Ron? Right? Who's Olga? They're asking these questions, right? And then they're saying, you know what? That person's name, their phone number is on the sign. Let me send them a text message or let me send them an email. So signage is very important. And to piggyback off of signage, you know that there's different levels of open houses. I'm not sure if you learned about that yet, but what you'll find is that when you're trying to pick up new clients as well, and you're doing open houses, that they say that most people walk into open houses from the signs you put out, right? So it's not that they've seen it online. It's not that they've seen you on social media. They've seen you put 10 open house signs out leading to the house that you're trying to sell. So signage is important. And you want to make sure that you do stick a sign in the yard. And then when you're doing open houses, you have directionals. So all of those things are important. Get back to the screen here. All right. Is there any way we can pull back up the, not sure, maybe I'm in the wrong view. Can we pull back up the PDF? There we go. So any questions about like photography? Any questions about, we have a question about how effective are the car signs? Have you seen success with those? I haven't used a car sign, but I do know people who do use them. I think you just have to do a cost benefit to if it's going to, I think what you'll find for me personally is once your business picks up, you kind of want people to leave you alone for a little bit. But people do wrap their cars and they do get business from it. So I think you just have to determine if that's an expense you want to incur to see if that's going to help you, pick up business. Perfect. So things that you should do. Let's go back to just a little bit. I want to make sure we capture. All right, we're going to price the home competitively. We're going to advise sellers on how to attract buyers, but by showing light in their home. If it's not well lit, you may want to suggest painting a different color. You may want to suggest kind of ways that they can create more light in the space. It may be changing out fixtures. It may be increasing the voltage in light fixtures. Things like that are going to help with marketing. And these are things you talk about in the consultation. Where to post a house. You know that there's plenty of Facebook groups and things you can post house. I would make sure you do that and follow proper protocol with what needs to be included. So you don't get dinged by the real estate commission. You can create flyers. Most people do that in Canva. You can do just sold postcards, just listed postcards, things like that. So these are all, different targeting marketing approaches that you can send to your seller as to how we can get your home sold. One of the best things you can do is say, hey, listen, I'm part of the Rawls group and we have, I don't know, thousands of agents that we can send your listing out to before it's even listed, coming soon. to attract buyers. That's one of the benefits to being a part of the Ross group. And many of your offices are also pretty big. So saying, hey, my office has 500 agents. I can get your house out in front of all these agents. I'm sure someone's looking for something just like this. That's always a selling point for people who are looking to sell their house. Of course, you're going to list it in the MLS, both Georgia MLS and FMLS. There's a tool you can do that, where it could list it in both. And then you're going to create an open house schedule to be sure that you can get people in to preview the home. How many of you feel comfortable with door knocking? No, none of you?
I would do it if I knew exactly what I needed to say.
Yeah.
They answer the door.
So I think that there are a ton of scripts that you could find that will help you with door knocking. The thing with door knocking is what I found is you can look up, there's science behind like the times you should door knock. But also, when it's thinking about like circle prospecting, right? When you're door knocking to invite people to an open house versus door knocking to present yourself as someone who could sell someone's house, I think there's a different script for it. So for me, what I found is, hey, my name is Vic Collins. I'm with Collins Peachtree Road. I'm holding an open house this Sunday and would love to invite you and your family between 2 and 4 p.m. We would love to see you stop by, take a look at the house, to see if you or anyone you would know would be interested in making the purchase. I think it's that easy, right? And then people will have a conversation with you, right? Usually everybody has a ring or a nest or something. They already see you coming up and they'll talk to you through that. But it's a way for you to kind of engage with the neighborhood and become a familiar face. So this is kind of one thing you could present to your sellers as to how you plan to get their house. So, I'm going to door knock the neighborhood. We have a question. How far in advance do you do that? So typically my timeline for doing an open house and when I'm marketing for a property is, if I am hosting the open house, I try to land it on a Monday, no later than a Tuesday. And the reason is because you have to give yourself time to circle prospect, meaning calling the neighborhood to invite people and let them know that there's a house for sale and you want to invite them to an open house. And then you have to put signs out. And then if you want to send invitations via email or through postal mail, you have to give yourself time to do that as well. And so by the time you do all of that, right, you're at the end of the week. But what we don't want is an open house where one person shows up. So by doing all of this work, right, securing your open house on the front of the week, doing the marketing around it through the middle, telling the end of the week, then you leave yourself the weekend for people to find it through signs. Then you set yourself up for an opportunity where you have a lot of people to show up at the open house. And a lot of people means that your seller's going to be happy, right? Because you're generating the activity. There are lots of people that are coming to you and say, hey, can you do my open house on Friday? I don't know why you would want to do that, but there are circumstances, but it may be a hot neighborhood and it may, the house may sell pretty quickly, could be an opportunity to get in front of people. You just kind of got to assess those factors, like the neighborhood, the location, the price point, things like that, because you're in it to kind of sell the home, right? You want to sell the home. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. All right, let's go down a little bit further. Then we talked about pricing, signage, staging, imaging, talked about all of these. We got into holding an effective open house. Do we have this video right here available?
We might. Give me one moment.
Hey, Vic, can you put your email back in there again so I can take a snapshot of it really quick?
Yeah, sure thing.
Thank you.
The video is pulling up,
Awesome.
I think.
Okay, so while we're waiting for that to pull up, what questions do you have so far about marketing the home?
How long after selling the home should an agent market to kind of still get some leads from that sale?
So I do a lot of just sold postcards. And I think if you do that, at that point, the house is sold. But you can do, some just solds, and then send it out via email, through postal mail, and then kind of add it to your success list. But there's not too much more marketing you can do after it's sold, because it's sold at that point. So a lot of the marketing is going to be on the front end, and the photography and the open house. That's your opportunity to try to pick up more business through those marketing strategies. All right, so let's take 10 minutes to watch this video.
Hi, I'm Chris Suarez, and I'm here to tell you the 5 steps to holding an effective open house. Step 1, strategically select the home you want to hold open. Choose a home that gives you the greatest potential to have buyers and sellers find you. This might be a home that is in a great traffic pattern, whether that be car traffic or people walking by in walkable neighborhoods in your community. Select a home around a local event where neighbors or even out-of-town people might be stopping in. Step 2 of holding an effective open house is advertising and marketing. Marketing begins a week in advance of any open house you might hold open. Begin by posting internet ads a week before. Get a sign in the yard and let neighbors and passerbys know that the home will be open later in the week. Remember to contact, both by phone and email, any internet leads or phone calls you've received on that listing prior to the open house. Don't forget to make 50 calls around the home prior to the open house and door knock, a radius of about 2 or 3 blocks. Step 3, know your scripts. Know what you're going to say to greet the visitor. Know what questions you're going to ask while they're in the home. One of the greatest first lines you could use is, "Thanks for stopping in to tour my open house. Are you one of the neighbors, or are you out shopping for a home today?" Immediately you'll know if you're dealing with a potential buyer or a potential seller. Step 4 is keep the right mindset and prepare. Remember, open houses are lead generation activities, so enter with the mindset of a top lead generator. Prepare yourself with comparable properties, market research, at least 2 or 3 other homes that you could potentially show should the opportunity arise. And step 5, always follow up with every lead that comes through that door. Call them, email them, write thank you notes that same day. A simple follow-up script to use directly after an open house goes like this. "Thanks for stopping into my open house this morning. It was great to meet you. I did a little bit of digging in the office after we met and after the open house and found 3 other properties that I think really fit your search criteria. I know the home that we saw this morning wasn't quite perfect, but these 3 have some real potential. We could get into them tomorrow at 4 or at 6, which would work better for you." Great, let's meet at my office and we can go from there. My biggest aha when doing open houses is remembering open houses are not a technique to keep current sellers happy. In reality, open houses are great lead generation tools to connect with potential future buyers and sellers. By using effective scripts, and systems leading up to the open house and great follow-up techniques after the open house, you'll build a Met database of future buyers and sellers. Thanks for watching KW Connect, and make it a great day.
Awesome. Do we have any questions about that video? Does that pretty much align with kind of how we've been guiding this conversation today?
Yes, he did mention that, before the open house, in addition to the door knocking, you should be calling at least 50 people in that area, in the neighborhood. How do you go about like getting those numbers, and I just don't know.
Yeah, so that's commonly referred to as circle prospecting, meaning we're circle prospecting around the house that's being marketed. And if you're in PC program, a lot of PC coaches will have access to lists that you can buy for certain zip codes or within a certain radius of the home, right? Usually they say, you don't want to go more than like a quarter mile out from making phone calls, but you can get those lists, and sometimes they come with phone numbers, and you can call around the open house to do invitations.
If you're hosting an open house for someone, would you be making these phone calls for them, or is it the expectation that the listing agent does the phone calls, or can you both do them? Like, how does it traditionally go?
So basically, when you are hosting the open house for a listing agent, remember the goal is for you to pick up business from the open house. So any leads that you obtain will be your leads. Most listing agents don't have an expectation that they are going to do any work for the open house, because that's why they're getting someone else to host it. So,
that makes sense.
What they're telling their seller is, hey, I'm going to do an open house for you. But what they're not telling the seller is, I'm going to work the open house for you.
Okay, so, got it.
They're just appeasing the seller, doing what they said they would do. But the goal in it for you is to try to pick up clients, and you can do that because what we do know about open houses is usually when a house goes on the market in the neighborhood, we know that a couple more houses are going to come on the market, right, in the same neighborhood. So what we want and what we're hoping is that you're in the running to get that business.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. We're going to pick it up a little bit because we are running out of time. So we talked a little bit about door knocking. We talked a little bit about leveraging the internet. So, a little bit about that. But basically when a listing goes live, of course it'll go out to Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com. What's really cool now is you can use Command to kind of run Facebook ads at, very discounted rate. Facebook and Instagram ads. So that's really popular right now with telling your sellers, hey, in terms of marketing the property, we have special tools where we can get it done with Command, which connects to our next point with our Facebook and Instagrams and things like that.
So Vic, I'm a little confused because you said we were running out of time. I thought class went on until 8:45.
It does, but we are like on page 20.
Okay, and then also, did we start at 5 or 5:30?
We started at 5:30.
Okay, I was just making sure. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I just I know we have about 47 more minutes, but I want to make sure we can get through a lot of this. So, okay. So you guys are pretty familiar with social media and how we're using that to market property and things like that. I just would be cautious with making sure that you have the right branding, brokers information, things like that, because you can get into a lot of trouble if you're not marketing the right way. So is it very popular way to market? Absolutely. Should you do it? Absolutely. And just kind of be in tune to how you should do that on social media. I have a question here. If I'm doing an open house, would it be okay to have a sign-in sheet asking for name, address, and phone number? Absolutely. I would highly encourage you. I mean, again, you're doing it to pick up also prospecting. So here's the main thing when you're doing an open house, you do want people to sign into it. Because you want to know who's coming in and out of the house, but also you want to be mindful of safety, right? You don't know. You kind of want to know who's coming in and out. A seller may want to know who's coming in and out. But also, if something happens, we kind of want to know who's been in the house. So I would encourage you to kind of take some safety training around what you should do in terms of holding open houses. And what's more popular I've seen people do is host it with other people, like with the lender or with the co-host, to kind of protect yourself and also to capture everybody. Because what happens if you get open house with like 50 people, how are you greeting everyone and giving their information, right? People just kind of walking in and walking out. So it's a lot easier to capture everybody's information if you co-host. And you can use the tool, but also there are also electronic tools you can use where people can sign in electronically. You can do it both ways.
Yeah, Vic, I ran into a small issue last spring. This was like a week before COVID really hit Atlanta. I was putting a house on the market near Piedmont Park, and I timed it with a festival thinking, oh, I'll get a lot of people in the door. And I was not the agent. I wasn't done with my classes yet. And my agent hosted it, had a lot of people, several people that showed up with beverages in their hand, intoxicated. So it kind of became a little crazy, where we had to kind of usher people out. So that was interesting. But yeah, safety concerns, I think that needs to be in the forefront of our brains as well.
Absolutely. Stay up on that. It's important. I mean, we've had some unfortunate things happen nationally. I don't know if you follow the news with people who've hosted open houses and things like that. So definitely take it serious in terms of when you're doing it, what times you're doing it. And I highly encourage you to do it with someone, because we're in a different time, for sure.
Vic, I have another question for you.
Yes.
Sorry, I think I interrupted somebody.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Just a quick question that I wanted to ask was, I see a lot of agents, like when I'm on Instagram and Facebook and I'm looking at other agents who are marketing themselves, in an awesome way, I see that they have like a company name that they put themselves under. What are the limitations and the rules when you have your own kind of branding and company name, but yet you're tied to Keller Williams? Because we're a part of Keller Williams, but we're also trying to create our own brand.
Yeah, well, the listing, unless you have your own firm, is with the broker.
Right.
So the broker's name has to be on there. Now you can do, you can say, I'm with the Vic Collins Group, powered by Keller Williams, Peachtree Road. I think that's appropriate. I think you can get away with that. But the broker's name has to be there. And the broker's phone number has to be there. And technically what people should do is put the MLS number on there, but they don't do it. But that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. A lot of people aren't marketing the way you're supposed to market. And I think that does come with education, and I think that does come with just kind of people knowing what the rules are. But I understand what you're saying. Like, you want to build a name like for yourself, but ultimately the listing is the broker's listing, so the broker has to be advertised.
This may be a question later for my specific brokerage. I already had leases where I managed rental properties, and I already had properties that I owned, leased, managed, and they were already under an LLC. And now that I've become a licensed agent, I'm wondering how to overlap my duties with Keller Williams, because obviously it's not like I'm trying to keep secrets from them, but I'm trying to figure out how I manage previously leased properties, but also, with the duties and responsibilities that I now have with Georgia Real Estate Commission.
Yeah, that may be a better question for your compliance broker. Which office are you out of?
I am in the Buckhead office.
So your compliance is Nan your compliance broker?
I think you're right, Nan Ellington.
So I think that'll be a good question for Nan to see. It's a very, the rules they get very interesting, and I don't want you to kind of pop up with a big fine in your box.
Thank you.
For just kind of, I would just ask the question first before you do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather disclose more than I need than not enough. Thanks.
All right, so let's go down a little bit further, and we talk about more advertising. Facebook pages, that's a great way to advertise. You know, sending emails out to your database about you know, what is on the market, what you've been selling. It's a great way to kind of kill two birds with one stone. And let's go down to number 3 here on page 21. It talks about communicating with the sellers. What you'll find when you, in terms of marketing a property, that sellers really want to know, they want to know like the activity that's been on the house, and they want to know the feedback. And it's one thing to get the feedback and not tell them. It's one thing to kind of know who's going in and out of the house and not tell them. But the reality is that they really want to know what's going on, right? And so there's several different ways you can do, several different things you can do to bridge that gap. Showing time makes it very easy to get reporting for who's coming in and out of the electronic lockbox if you're using Supras, which I would advise so that you know who's coming in and out of the home. But they have special reporting features you can use. You can just download them as PDFs, send them to your client and say, listen, here's the activity on the house for the week. I would love to talk to you about the feedback that I've been getting. And then we can kind of go from there. So it's very important that you set aside time with your clients to have these conversations, because people really get very antsy about you putting the house on the market and then kind of like not knowing what's happening with the activity. So you can also do things like share the access information. Like you can get the seller be granted access, you know, they let them grant the access to people in terms of appointments. That kind of gives them a good feel of like what's going on. So those are kind of things that you have to do to sort of appease the seller and to let them know that you're doing your job. All right, let's go down a little bit further.
I was going to ask, should you set that expectation up on how you're going to be communicating with them before, or, you know, just kind of just do it? You know, would you let them know, hey, you should expect weekly reports from me on activity? You know, is that a good conversation to have?
Absolutely. I think that's a good conversation to have on the front end when you're trying to win the listing, and then sticking by it. And you know, you have to be mindful of a lot of different things, because what we like to think is we can put a sign in the yard and put it in MLS, and then then people will come find it. What you'll find is sometimes, because like this year, because of COVID, right, the market gets very interesting in terms of who's shopping. And what you have is you have houses that went into the holding status, right? You have houses that, you know, stayed into coming soon longer. But how that impacts you is you may have to go out and find the buyer, meaning you can't simply rely on it being listed in MLS and someone bringing the buyer to you. And so what we call that is reverse prospecting. And you may have to, are you familiar with reverse prospecting? Have you guys talked about that yet? Not yet?
No.
Okay, so what reverse prospecting is it's usually when you list a home and many different people can see it. When brokers are setting their clients up on searches that fits the criteria of the home you're trying to sell, it will give you that information in MLS to say, hey, this person from this broker is interested in your home. They may have favored it, or it fits the criteria they're looking for. So what it means is you can get that list of names and you can call the brokers to say, hey, I noticed that you have a client who may be interested in the home I'm trying to sell. Let me give you some more information about it. We'd love for you to stop in to take a look at it. Keep in mind that a lot of people just kind of set their clients up on the portal and don't talk to their client unless their client says, hey, I want to see this house. So reverse prospecting is being a little more proactive and trying to find the buyer or find the broker that may have a buyer for your home. And so when you communicate that to your seller to say, this is something that we will do, that also adds value to, it gives confidence to your seller. And so, and to answer your questions, yes, I do set the expectation up front to say, look, I'm going to, we're going to talk weekly toward the end of the week about the activity of the house. And then from there, we'll be able to gauge what we need to do to get it sold. And I recommended that be via phone call. When you start, texting information, emailing information too much, it kind of can confuse a seller. I think it's a conversation you have to say, well, hey, Ann, this week we've had a ton of showings in the house. We've had 2 people who may be interested in the property, but this is the feedback I've been getting. What do you think about that? And when you have that conversation, it's a little more warm than cold, and it kind of preserves the relationship with your seller. Okay, so you see here a lot of communication tips. I don't want to go through all of those. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. What questions do you have about communicating to the seller? All right, let's scroll down to the next page. So we're going to talk about customer experience for a little bit. And I think this is kind of take a few minutes I want to ask the question to you all, what do you think, what do you think is providing a good customer experience? And we'll take maybe a couple people and then we'll go to the next section.
Part of the customer experience is doing what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. Yes, so it's doing what you're saying you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, and kind of following up, when you say you're going to follow up. I think the most successful agents in this industry put together fabulous systems for effectively communicating, and that communication preserves relationships with your clients. So no matter how things are going, if they're going not so well and you're communicating, you have a different level of respect. Your client will have a different level of respect for you. And if they are going well and you're communicating, they really, 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 really adore you. So what I found is we've collectively, right, we like to communicate through text and email because that's easier, right? And it kind of tempers emotions that may be going on. But the reality is the best way to temper a client, or the best way to kind of fuel a client, is by picking up the phone and having a conversation with them. So this is an industry where you're going to have to do that, is to be on the phone. And that will in turn keep you very aware. Will please your client, and it'll turn into more opportunities for you. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. Being solutions oriented, very important. I think that when you're in the middle of a deal, that sometimes things will come up, and the best way to kind of deflect what may not be going well is by bringing solutions to your client, even if that means solutions that they may not want to hear. For example, if we're trying to sell your listing and we're not getting it sold, maybe that conversation is around reducing the price. And here's why, right? No one ever wants to hear that we need to reduce the price of the house, but that may be the solution to how we get the home sold. And I think when you are always going to your clients with ways that we can get to the desired outcome, that is kind of what will bring you a lot of success. What kinds of problems might arise that you can apply solutions to and be seen as the customer's hero? Give me a few examples.
Like being ready with a list of contractors if any need arise, if, for any repairs, or just being ready and supplying them without having them have to do any research on that end.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Great example. I mean, come on, all kinds of things can happen. Trees fall on houses, pipes burst. There's a ton of things that can happen throughout the process. You may find out that there's an easement on a property that you didn't know about. So I think, the bottom line for anything that may come up is to always go with your client with, here's what is happening, here's what I can do to help solve the problem, and then ask them what it is that you wish to do given the circumstances. And then allowing them to kind of make a decision with your expertise and your help to help resource them. If it's, I don't know, then that's not a good thing. If it's, and it's always okay to say, you know what, I don't have the answer right now, but the beautiful thing about my broker is I know a ton of other people who may have come across this. Let me ask them to see if I can get some solutions that may be a viable option for you. And it's okay to say that too. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. We have another video.
Hi, I'm Josh Bath, and I'm here to talk to you about creating a wow experience with your clients. Creating that wow experience with your clients starts right from the initial interview. When you're sitting down with them and you're listening to them and you're asking them good questions, that's really what sets you apart from the rest of the agents that just go in there and talk. The mindset should be not, what am I going to ask them next, before they've even finished their sentence with you. The mindset should be, what are you saying to me? A couple things that I do to establish a really good wow experience for my clients. I tell them that a photographer is going to contact them. I tell them that a home stager is going to contact them. And after that's done, I follow up with them. And I ask them, so how was your experience with my photographer? Now, I already know that the photographer I've chosen is incredible, and they're going to deliver great service the way I deliver great service, except I get to use the service they use as an extension for the energy I'm creating with them in that wow experience. Once their home's listed, how I continue on with that wow experience, I just communicate with them almost every other day. And that communication is either by phone, by text, or a follow-up on an email. The advice I would give you if you're looking for a place to begin, I'd sit down with a notepad, a paper, in a quiet place, and just start writing out naturally in your mind everything that you do from the moment you've sat in their living room to the moment you've gone back to the office and handed the file to your assistant. How are you communicating with them? What are you doing? These are all incredible steps to communicate back to your seller, because normally they don't know what's going on. And if you're telling them what you're doing, you're helping them remove some of that fear and building confidence and trust in you, which is exactly what creates that wow experience. For people thinking that they need to do something big and as a result never doing anything at all, go back to small. It's not about being over the top and big. Sometimes wow is just following up with them when you said you were going to follow up with them. Or it could just be as simple as paying attention to some of their needs, like they don't have time to cut the grass. Maybe you might hire someone to cut the grass. That'll blow their mind. And for you, you can hire a local neighborhood kid. That doesn't cost very much. Little things like that, though, go a long way for referral business and creating a customer for life and that wow experience.
I think the one thing that I really liked about this video is when he talked about creating a wow experience, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I think if you can be very creative in what you can do to really blow the minds of your clients away, those are the little things that matter. So let's scroll down a little bit here. Couple communication tips: being sincere, honest and reliable, focusing on their needs, wants, and values, delivering what is promised and expected, providing extraordinary income, just provide the extraordinary and uncommon, and response time. That's kind of, in a nutshell, what will determine how successful you be in this industry. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit further. I don't know how we're gonna break into small groups. I don't think we're gonna be able to do this portion over Zoom. So what we'll do is we'll improvise, and I'm gonna have someone talk to me about their listing presentation. Let's do it like that. So who wants to share their listing presentation with us? Come on, I know you guys have done it.
I would, but it's crazy in my house. My kids are just all over the place.
Okay, who has a listing presentation that they want to share, that they feel comfortable sharing with us? Okay, some of you don't have one yet, but I know some of you do. Did you guys do your listing presentation yet? No, you haven't done it in Ignite? Okay, so.
Would it be bad if we would like to hear yours?
No, I guess you can. I mean, so my listing presentation, let's see. I think I have one on here. I don't know if I'll be able to share. I don't know if I'm, Okay, so let me just talk you through it because I don't think I'll be able to share it. So my listing presentation goes a little bit like this. So what I normally do when I get a client is I send them a pre-listing kit. And what's included in the pre-listing kit is just information about the house, like the deed, the current mortgage balance on the home, if it's if it's someone who's married who's on the deed, and then kind of things that they like about the home in the pre-listing kit. That way, when I'm doing a phone call prior to the listing appointment, I kind of have some talking points to ideas on how I think we can get the home sold. And also you have information about, the numbers, right? If they just bought the house a year ago and there's no equity in the home, then that also opens the door for a conversation about, how we're going to get it sold for a certain dollar amount so that we may not be taking a loss, or they may understand that they will be taking a loss, but to what degree, right? So it just kind of helps the conversation. I also send them like their guide to home selling. Many of you will have access to like a guide to home selling, and most of it should be on your intranet. And what we'll do is I'll send that to them along with the listing agreement, along with my listing presentation, which is like a PowerPoint document that will walk them through like the staging, the marketing, and all of those things, the 14-point marketing plan, and that information. What I find is a lot of people don't really care about the actual formal documentation. What they really care about is like the seller's net, right? And so usually what included in my presentation is a breakdown of like all of the costs, from commission costs, depending on what you take the listing at, if it's 6%, 7%, 8%, that breakdown and where that goes, photography costs, staging costs, home warranties being offered, potential closing costs, all of those things are important. And perfect. Janet said she can share her. Is there a way for us to share the screen?
She should just be able to share.
Okay, while she's getting that.
Okay. And this is something I did in Canva, so don't judge me because I'm sensitive about my work.
Okay.
But I would like some feedback.
Okay.
All right, so give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen.
You can see it.
All right, so this is something that I use as a template. This is what I've started to do in addition to the listing presentation, which I usually use a combination of like list reports and then RPR. We have something called RPR here in Tennessee. But that's what I use for my comps. But here this is what I leave behind. I bind this and it's really professional. It's on like a really thick or a semi-thick type of paper. Put my logo there. And this is something that I leave with my sellers. A quick little bio about myself. And then we talk about those goals. Getting to know you better, answer all your questions. Most of the time, I already have a list of questions that they've asked me over the phone. Ask them important information, and we usually determine if I'm the agent for you at the end, but by that time, they've already made up their mind that they want me to list their home. I usually go over this to make them feel more comfortable because I found that some sellers are wanting to know what are the fees and how hard is it going to be to get my home sold and what's really in it for me if I'm not satisfied. So I kind of address that on the end and just letting them know that their satisfaction is my overall goal. And then we get to the home sale timeline. We talk about the pre-listing. Let me see if I can increase this because I feel like you all can't see that. Boom. Okay. We go over what we do at the pre-listing, at the listing appointment. I talk to them about what do we do when the home is actually listed and active, and we go over their personalized marketing campaign. And from there, I've already had something that I've used, like list reports. I might have their home pictured and just letting them know, showing them some samples of how I do market their home. We talk about professional photos, signs, scheduling appointments, all of that stuff. Then we talk about what do we do when we are officially under contract. And this is just another part of how we go through our listing, how I go through my listing strategy. Printed materials, listed postcards, open houses, making calls to other agents, and current buying clients to tell them about their home. And this is something that I don't think a lot of sellers even think about, how we market their home on social media. So I highlight that and they really like that. They're like, really? So, once I've made the ad, I've even shown them like your ad on your home is active on Facebook and getting a lot of feedback. And then I talk about open houses, and I even have a schedule and say, hey, if they're an owner occupant, I'll ask them, what is your weekend schedule like? Are you comfortable with leaving the house for a few hours on a Sunday or a Saturday for me to conduct the open house? One of the last houses I sold, the lady literally never went anywhere without her husband. So the only place she would go was like to the beauty parlor or something like that. But we had to talk about where she's comfortable with going, and we were able to work with her schedule if I had to do an open house just to get her, away from the home. And then I talk about here are just some ways that we might market the open houses, but we will hold. And I just talk to them about the value that I add with giving them exposure to their home, or bringing exposure to their home. And then this is where I use the listing reports, and I kind of give them a few statistics. Then we talk about, you know, different people that are in place to help with the contract that they may not think about, especially if I'm not able to be reachable all the time. I let them know, hey, you may talk to a transaction coordinator, or so on and so forth. And I found this to be very valuable on the front end, because if you're not available, you're like, oh, well, somebody's gonna step in for me. Sometimes they don't like that kind of change. Yeah. If you haven't discussed it over on the front end. Talked about websites. And then this is like my gem right here when we talk about professional photos. And I give them a before picture and an after picture. Give them a picture that what it shows, how it looks when it's taken with a phone versus a professionally taken photo. I have some new photos that I'm going to kind of update this with, but a lot of times they really do see the value and why I would hire a photographer when they see differences like this. And then we talk about next steps, decluttering your home, and we talk about why, and I hit on the first impressions last a lifetime. It's really important to capture the buyer as soon as they walk in the door. And I tell them, usually kitchens and bathrooms sell homes, but your buyer wants to be able to feel at home when they walk in. So kind of declutter as much as possible. And then we talk about curb appeal, and why that's important. Then I like to add my reviews in here from other clients that I've had, just to, just kind of add, hey, you're in good hands. And I always end, I would love for you to join my happy client club. Am I the agent for you? Something like that. And it kind of makes them giggle a little bit, and they were like, well, we already made up our mind, and we go from there.
Amazing.
Janet, that was awesome.
Thank you. And if y'all would like to use this, I'll be okay with sharing it in Canva. You just have to make a copy and then edit your own copy.
Yes, that was really dope.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot. It was a great presentation. I think it's everything a seller wants to hear, and wonderful job.
Thank you. I would say one expense that you can kind of save is if you buy your own binder, because I went to like FedEx office and had them bind about 25 of them, because I leave these with my sellers. Like when I go on these listing appointments, I leave them with them. And that's kind of a little expensive. So if you're kind of do-it-yourself type of person like me, I would say invest in a binder and some good paper.
And I would say leave it with them. So a couple things with that, because sometimes people will take your information and try to compare it with another agent that they're interviewing as well. I would have I would have my presentation, then I would have something that has like some of the stuff in there from the presentation that I can leave with them, right? And then if they have any questions, they can call me. Because what people do is they take Janet's information, then they take RJ's information, and then they take Donnie's information, and they take everybody's information, right? And then they kind of put it together, and then they say, oh, you know what? I want to go with this person over here. So I like that you use RPR. I don't know if a lot of people know about RPR, but that's a very great tool that you have access to from NAR that can give you a lot of information to help on your presentations as well. So if you don't have RPR, you can download the app, use your NERDS ID to log into it. Does anyone else have any feedback for Janet?
I thought it was amazing. Like I would have let you list my house.
It was beautiful, right? I mean, nice presentation. And I think it's everything people want to know, the timelines. People want to know what happens at each stage, right? That's important for sellers. When we get to this stage, this is what happens. When we get to this stage, this is what happens. So I think, Janet, you did a great job on your listing presentation. So RPR is, forget what it stands for.
I want to say Realtor Property Resource, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
Yes, Anthony, that's what it stands for. And you should be able to log into it and pull up like data on like any property in the US. So it's like really cool to use, and I use it a lot actually. All right, so we can get back to the PDF, and then we have 10 more minutes. We're gonna go through what we have left here. All right, so putting it all together, perfect timing. We're gonna do an action plan, prepare for your next class, recall, remember it. So here are some actions that help you prepare for your next class. The time block and practice your seller listing presentation scripts, which I found out you guys haven't done your listing presentation yet, but practice your scripts. Speak to other agents about staging, resources, and professionals. There's lots of offices that have resources. If you just go in your Facebook groups, you can go in the Ross group, Facebook group, and kind of ask like, who's a great staging professional, get a couple names, maybe do a couple Zoom coffees to get an idea of how they do business, and then put them in your resource tool belt. Marketing ideas for your listings or future listings. I would be open, if I were you, take some like Facebook ads classes, some IG ads classes, things like that, that'll help you market on social media, through the web, and also just kind of on your personal pages and business pages. Okay, we're gonna scroll down a little bit more. Okay, here's what you need to do to prepare for your next class and mission. Download your mission for the next class on Ignite on KW Connect, and then you will, again, create your call list to bring. Be prepared to real play calls in class like we did today, and take notes from the current class. All right, for your next class, you're gonna focus on first-time home buyers and renters, as well as the many referrals you've been getting from calling Mets. So that's kind of how you're gonna, that's kind of what you're gonna bring to the next class. Any questions about this call list? Okay, let's scroll down a little bit better. A little bit more. All right, in wrapping up, what are the 3 phases of your listing relationship with the seller? Staging, marketing. All right, I saw someone getting ready to speak.
And communication, right? And communication, the last one.
Right, in communication, yep. Okay, and then we talked about staging. Why is that important?
It'll increase traffic, increase your chances of selling.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully, higher price point.
Higher.
Mm-hmm. More money for your seller. Pricing, pricing is important, and is number 1 on your 14-point marketing plan. But tell me a little bit about why that's important.
If the property is priced incorrectly, none of the other marketing steps really matter.
That's in a nutshell. That's correct. That's correct. I mean, you have to make sure that what the market value is for the home is what you're listing the home for, right? And if you're outside of that range, the house probably will not sell. Let's go down a little bit further. The 5 elements of super service. We kind of brushed through that, but tell me a little bit more about what do you have to do to provide super service?
Communicate.
Communicate.
Being sincere.
Being sincere, absolutely.
Doing the little things.
Yes, absolutely.
Did somebody say responsive?
No, we didn't. No one didn't say that, but that's one of them. You're responsive, absolutely. I think you get the gist. Perfect. I mean, I think that's in a nutshell, what super service is. All right, let's scroll down to some ahas and achievements. So what are your ahas for today's and some behaviors you think you'll adopt to get your listing sold? What tools will you use and what does accountability look like? No ahas? It's got to be at least one.
What was the question again?
What are some of your ahas from today? Like what are some of the nuggets you took away from today's class?
Staging could really help. I hadn't really given too much thought into incorporating staging as something that I offer or advise sellers. So I'm looking into that and how I can continue to add value to listing and selling a home.
Perfect.
Me personally, I didn't realize how important it was to do the door knocking and reaching out to the immediate community before the open house to increase traffic.
Absolutely.
Also, that your open house is your opportunity to lead, not so much sell the house for.
Absolutely. That's a big one. That's a big one. Open house is an opportunity to pick up business.
I would say for me, it was pretty much how you helped me know like how I can move forward with that list that I'm trying to get with the elderly person. I was pretty much stuck until you helped me with that. So that was like a big aha for me. As far as mailing her things or, being able to do a Zoom call or whatever the case is.
Absolutely. I'm glad I was able to help. Yeah, I think, I hope you took away from is some different things you can do to pick up business and please your clients. And a lot of these things have worked for me. And some of them have been uncomfortable, like door knocking, but that does turn into opportunities for you to kind of meet people and to earn people's business. When people see you doing that kind of thing, working hard, and then you get a reputation around town as, man, he's really trying to get my house sold. Here's my real estate agent. Give him a call, right? Give her a call. So that does really work for you, especially in a market where we're so saturated with real estate professionals. I mean, everybody has 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 in their neighborhood, but what really stands out is people who are doing the groundwork to make sure that you have happy clients. So great. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. Just put my social media in there if you guys have questions any further. I'm happy to help you with anything. Just send me a note or add me and then send me a note, and then I can further assist with any questions you may have. Okay, so achievements of the week. You're going to continue to grow through your second week of Ignite by acquiring new skills. And so here, use the chart below to chart your progress. So you're You're going to be working on a pre-listing packet, which which I didn't know you didn't do yet, but I spoke a lot about it today, but you'll get an opportunity to kind of see what that looks like. I'm happy to send you my pre-listing packet if you would like. If you would like that, just kind of shoot me an email and I will send it to you. You're going to deliver your seller listing presentation, which I think you're going to work on. Continue to ask for business. Discover pricing strategies, which you can use different tools to help with that, and preparing CMAs. There are a lot of courses on FMLS to help with that. And you're going to kind of continue to work on your marketing plan and communication skills and things like that. And so how many contacts have you added to your database this week? I guess would be my question in wrapping up. Actually, we're a little short on time, so let's just kind of get to the next page. Okay, so a little bit of homework, watching KW Connect, using Facebook in your business, how to capture leads for open houses, using open houses, following up with open houses and using technology. Some things you can use. Here's some additional resources for you. And let me ask, as we're wrapping up, do we have any questions? So Kristen, what do you need to do a screenshot? How do we?
I'm taking a screenshot right now.
Okay.
All right, I've got them. So as long as you're good, unless you have anything else, Vic.
No, I don't have anything else for you. It was a pleasure meeting many of you. Again, I put my information in here if you want to contact me for any questions you may have, and hopefully I'll see many of you again soon.
Thank you, Vic.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
class.
Thank you so much. Awesome class.
Yep, very good.
Awesome class.
Thank you.
Hey, Vic, could I ask you a quick question? I don't know if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. So I just got licensed in October. I was with a whole different brokerage, and then actually had a friend who's been with Keller Williams for a couple of years now, and she was like, hey, you should try to meet with my broker, et cetera, et cetera. So now I'm here. Do you have any advice for somebody who's super, super new at this and has no idea what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, so you're new to real estate and you're trying to get off the ground. Are you full-time or part-time?
So right now I'm part-time, hoping to make the jump into full-time within the next couple months, because I don't like my job.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so yeah.
So I think, like, for me, the advice I would give you is, I think it goes back to starting with like your big why. Have you done that with your coach?
Yeah.
Okay. And so taking a big dive and kind of really, really understanding, why you're doing what you're doing. And one thing that kept me going in the beginning was I was in a market center that really gave me a lot of information, and that kind of sustained me until business started coming in. And so I went to a ton of classes, like a ton, and kind of learned what agents were doing. I also took the opportunity to do a lot of open houses for agents and open doors for agents, right? Because I wanted the agents in my office to know who I was. And keep in mind, like, to be very successful, you don't have to only build relationships with clients. You have to build relationships with other agents. That's going to make you successful. So in between doing all of that, right, and vetting, right, lenders and home inspectors and things like that, your plate is going to be pretty full for when the time comes and you have like 1 million clients. You'll have everything in place. So I would spend, in hindsight, I would have spent a lot more time on building the infrastructure to be successful. Because then when the success comes, you're like, man, I have to do all these other things that I had time to do in the beginning and I didn't do. So that's kind of the advice that I would give is make the most of it. If it's someone in which office are you out of?
I'm in Buckhead.
Yeah, so
I've been working with Jennifer Garcia. I'm not sure if you know who that is, but
yeah.
Jennifer Garcia.
Yeah. Continue to nurture those kinds of relationships. I think that's important. I know we're doing a lot on Zoom right now. So, come to whatever classes you can come to kind of learn, because the successful agents in this market, they're knowledgeable and they know how to get, I mean, you're talking, there are multiple contracts on almost every home.
Yeah.
Right. So
It's just crazy because I was with Chapman Hall first and I made the switch because I wasn't getting training and my broker was, not to knock anybody, but I wasn't able to communicate with him or get advice that I needed.
Yeah.
So I really was just sitting at home with some business cards. So, I'm glad I made the switch because I've learned a lot in the short period of time I've been with Keller Williams. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you said that because they mentioned that today to me is building relationships with other agents.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a ton of things that come out of building. You never know. I mean, some people, they have so much business, they may not want to work a certain price point. And then because they have a good relationship with you, hey, I'll give you a referral fee if you take out this $300,000 buyer, right? I mean, it gets your business going, right? In the beginning. So that's kind of the approach that I took in the beginning, was like, well, let me get to know some people. Let me be willing to do the things that I can do to kind of learn in the space. And then next thing you know, you're a mega agent. You're a rock star in your office.
Because right now, the buyer that I would be working with, I got together with another agent who brought me into Keller Williams, and she was like, do you want to do the first deal together? It'll be a great experience for you to shadow. She's like, if you don't want to, it's okay, but just as an option, because that's what she did when she learned. And I was like, honestly, I think it's a great idea because I have no idea, how to even start, but but thank you. I appreciate your class. Was awesome.
Get started with the people in your phone. Like I literally went through everybody on my phone, every contact. And I said, well, what pieces of information do I have? And I know I needed a mailing address. I know I needed a birthday. So if I had them in my phone, I know you some form of fashion. So I added them on social media. I sent them a text message and say, hey, can I send you a card in the mail? Great. So that's kind of how I built like my spear up. And then once you do that, you put them in command and then you kind of put tags on them. And then you start to say, oh, these people, they like pets, right? Let me go find a pet article and send them what's going on in the pet world. These people, they like the Atlanta United football team. So then you can really get specific with people once you have information to do that. So that was kind of my first step, was let me just get the pieces of information, and then I could spend the time on building the systems that will help me connect with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sending out some cards because I have a lot of addresses that
It's gonna change the world. Somebody somewhere will respond, and then next thing you know, that's turning into business.
Well, let's hope, because I've been putting it out there. So
it's gonna happen a lot quicker than you think. If you just be consistent with it, with doing these things, you're gonna like, man, if I write another note just before you give up, right? Someone's gonna say, I got your note. Hey, I want to sell my house. That's how it happens. So just got to be consistent. Just the consistency pays.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you.
If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Okay. I understand what it's like to be a new agent, and I'm not too removed from being a new agent, but I have a passion for helping new agents because I know what it's like to be in your shoes. And I want to be the one to encourage you to say, keep going. It's going to work out.
Yeah. I'm just pushing because I want to leave my job for
Yeah.
many reasons, but you know, we're gonna get there, and I'm super excited, super positive with everything that's going on, and I'm pushing. So
Yeah, I think you'll get there. Just follow. You know, you're in a great office. You know, just keep, you know, keep up with your sponsor. Hopefully, they're very supportive. And then use this network. The Keller Williams network is powerful. There are a lot of successful people at a lot of different levels who don't mind. That's one thing I love about KW is people don't mind sharing what they've done to be successful. They really don't. I'm like, what did you do? How'd you do that? What did you use? Oh, this is what it is. I've used this. You can do it here. You can buy it here. That's what I love about it.
yeah,
You know, no one hoards information. So
that's awesome.
I'm here to help you. If you have help, let me know.
All right, thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.